The Survivor Specialists are back, and today we are continuing our Winning Survivor series, talking seasons 31 through 35, Cambodia to Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. I refuse to type that out, Wes. I wasn't doing it. HHH.
Oh,
Maybe that'll
yeah.
get us better. Triple H. That'll get us better, algorithm, SEO, whatever.
Yes.
But I refuse to type it out, Wes. Welcome back. We're less than 12 hours removed, or maybe like 13 hours removed from our last podcast where we covered 26 through 30. So if you're hearing this one going, why are they putting this out on a Friday afternoon? Make sure you go check out our other one as well. We're going to be off next week, and then we'll be back on July 23rd to put out the 36 through 40. So a little bit of a hiatus after this one. But Wes, welcome back. I know it's been so long since we talked. How you feeling on this very early 11 a.m. for you?
I think we should have planned out our hiatus to be after Winners of War, just like when Survivor had their hiatus, but we did not plan that out at all.
You got to change your vacation, man.
I know. It's exactly why we're not doing next week. I'm gone next Thursday. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about this group. I know that you said yesterday when we did that podcast that Cambodia was the beginning of a huge shift in the game. You know, I was thinking about it. I think so. It's always like Survivor always plants the seeds of something before they really commit to it. Most of the time, it seems like. And I think the seeds were planted when they gave the extra vote to Dan in Worlds Apart at the auction. That's really the seeds for what happens with the Advantage era. Like, it was such a huge thing, but now like getting extra votes just, you know, like in modern Survivor, it's like whatever. Like, okay, doesn't never mean anything. Never really amounts to much.
Yeah.
And maybe it's affected a vote, but like we're talking 20 seasons and affected like one, maybe two votes in the history of the show in any meaningful way. But it was treated like some landmark moment on 30. And here we are in Cambodia where the show continues to shift more into this.
Yeah, and so we'll be talking about these obviously in the order that they aired, but I've been saying this a lot because I just rewatched these seasons. If you watch Koh Rong before Cambodia, you actually see the trajectory the show was on a lot better. Because Cambodia, the thing is, Worlds Apart into Koh Rong. Koh Rong's a lot more similar to Worlds Apart than you would think. A much more villainous cast, more negative. They do the super idol thing, but they don't overwhelm you with advantages and twists and different things like that. Then they get to Cambodia and they do overwhelm you with it. And it was people who were voted in. And you see that they're putting more of an effort on the joy you're getting from Survivor and these trust clusters and all of these different things. And obviously Cambodia happens first. So when you watch it in the order that at which it comes out, you actually feel like you're almost going back in time a little bit after Cambodia, because you're like, wait, this doesn't feel like a natural progression. Whereas if you go Koh Rong, Cambodia, Millennials versus Gen X, it feels like a very natural progression. And like you're saying, it kind of started with Worlds Apart, and then Koh Rong had one other thing as well with the Super Idol and combining the idols.
And removing the juror, even though
removing a member. Yeah, that's a good point.
I almost feel like that was made up though, because they had they needed an extra thing for their challenge. I could be wrong. I could have been there the whole time.
I think you might be right, though, because they weren't planning on 3 medevacs. And I think with the 3 medevacs, that really screwed them up. And I think they wanted to ensure it was a final 3, which, in my opinion, one of the best final 3s the show's ever had. But yeah, you see it, though, after that. Like, if you go in that order of Koh Rong to Cambodia, after Cambodia, it's like Millennials versus Gen X, Game Changers, Heroes, Healers, Hustlers. They're just throwing everything at the wall. And you have Adam Klein stealing a reward, or they want him to steal a reward. Like,
yeah. They really wanted that, too.
Yeah.
To think that they did Cambodia and then Game Changers like 1 year apart, like filming 2 seasons apart with the way production worked is just insane. Like they don't do that anymore. They're like so anti doing returnee seasons. They did 2 full-blown ones because they were so excited about Cambodia, and Jeff wanted some of his favorites on Game Changers with Brad Culpepper and Troy Zan specifically that didn't get on Cambodia. And it's like, yeah, it's definitely the seeds are always there for things to come. We just hope that Survivor ignores them, but Survivor never ignores the things we want them to. They're like, oh, here's the thing that you like that didn't work one time. We get rid of it. Here's the thing that didn't work that nobody likes. We're doing it again, but harder. It's usually how it goes.
And so this is a stretch. This ends the stretch, and I'm doing the math right now, of what we have from 20 to 34, we have 8 returning player seasons with at least one returning player. And 3 of those are full returning player seasons in that stretch. And then we have 40, obviously, and then we don't have another one until 50.
Mm-hmm.
I also think the reason why they
Bruce
probably
on 45, that's not returning player season.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think the other reason that they might have went away from doing returning player seasons and why Winners at War at 40 rather than like a full legend season might have happened is because Game Changers was not popular and because people really didn't like Game Changers. And I think that might have had an impact on this. And it might be why Game Changers was really the last returning player season that wasn't all winners for 16 seasons. Like that is an insane number. And I think it was just because it wasn't very popular, but we'll get there in a bit. We got to talk about Jeremy first because, we're not doing a history podcast, Wes, even though sometimes I feel like we might be.
Well, I do enjoy talking about the context of seasons and whatnot at the same time. We can talk about strictly the winners, but I find joy in talking about all of it. And, of course, I'm just bringing up things that come to my mind that I want to talk about. But, yes, we're here to talk about the winners. Jeremy Collins specifically, I've said it all the way through every episode of our podcast, talking about the blueprint for a winner. And the blueprint I think I would follow would be Jeremy Collins on Cambodia. This to me is it. Not only do a lot of winners, I think, follow this mostly, but I think that it's a very smart way of approaching his social games. Very smart. He's reveals things at the right time. Like Jeremy plays a near flawless game, and that reflects in the stats. The fact that he idled the only 3 votes against him, negating them. I mean, like there's a perfect game with an asterisk next to it because it's not a perfect game. But man, oh man, is it as close as you can get, considering that he can't control people from not voting for him, but he played his idol to stop their votes the one time it happened.
Yeah, and we get Vlad the Impaler saying, did Jeremy benefit from being low-key a non-threat coming to Cambodia?
Yeah.
I think he did, but I think he was also like a mid-tier threat coming into this cast. I don't think he was as low of a threat as you would see. Sure, Vitas is a bigger threat. Some of the older school players you might be looking at a little bit more like Stephen Fishback. But you did have Kelly Wentworth, you did have Keith Nail, you did have Kimmy Kappenberg, you did have Abby Maria, you did have like Cass, who nobody was really thinking of as a winner. You had Monica Padilla, who nobody really understood anything about her game. You had Jeff Varner, who people weren't sure what he was going to bring to the season. So I think Jeremy was very much in the middle, whereas opposed to like Parvati in Fans vs. Favorites 1, I feel like she was at the bottom of that level. And I even feel like Sandra in Heroes vs. Villains was lower than she should have been, even though she was a winner, just because of some of the legendary status of some of those players and recency bias and all of those different things.
In Heroes vs. Villains, they couldn't rewatch seasons the same way they can now.
Yes.
Like rewatching Pearl Islands is so much more accessible than it was in 2009. So it gives a little context for why Sandra went under the radar.
Yeah, and I think
Jeremy, he barely made the merge in San Juan del Sur, if I recall.
He was the second one out. It was Josh and then him. Yep.
And, do you count what's her name quitting? Julie? I think her name's Julie.
Well, so Julie quit, then Josh went, then Jeremy went.
Yeah.
So he was
I don't really count Julie quitting as part of the merge. I mean, it happened at the merge, but
yeah, she just got out of there. I actually respect that move of her just being like, these people don't like me and I don't like them, so I'm just gonna leave. I don't want to be here. So what I really though love about Jeremy's game, and if you were to just look at this season without watching the season, and you had watched Cagayan, and you'd watched every season up to this, if I had revealed the boot order to you, and here's the boot list, but you're not watching it take place, and you see Jeremy goes to the end with Spencer and beats him 10-0, you're going, oh wow, that's crazy. Because in Cagayan, Spencer was everybody's favorite. People thought Spencer would have won that game. If Spencer gets to the end, he's probably revered as one of the best winners in the show's history. And instead, Spencer comes back 2.0. It's a terrible story. The editing makes no sense. But he sits there next to Jeremy and Jeremy beats him. So if you were to look at this without actually watching the season play out, you'd say, wow, he went to the end with one of the biggest threats in the game. And not for nothing, Tasha really did understand the game of Survivor as well. She's a pretty good player in Cagayan. I don't think she plays as good of a game here.
She's better in Cagayan,
Yeah, but it's like, wow, he went to the end with 2 threats. If he sits next to Wentworth and Keith, even though Wentworth probably played a better game than Spencer and Tasha and probably gets more votes than both of them, if he goes to the end with them and you look at that, you say, oh, the 3 Hunapus from San Juan del Sur get to the end. He beats these 2 people that nobody really saw as great players. That's what you would think if you looked at it. Instead, Jeremy just plays a better game than a lot of players that people were revering coming into the season. It really proved that San Juan del Sur was kind of a fluke, and it was just a weird cast that made it so he couldn't get further.
I think part of why he beats Spencer and Tasha so easily, especially Spencer, because that's really the person that a lot of people see themselves in and also see as Rog because of his whole storyline. I think big reason why I beat them is because a lot of this jury is older, married with kids, or has kids. Like I think Kimmy's not married but has kids, if I'm recalling correctly. And people vote for the winner. They want to represent their season. And when you see somebody who's married with kids, and also, Jeremy's like, I'm having a boy, it's a big deal to me. Like people who have kids can relate to that. And then you got Spencer, who his storyline is, I finally said I love you to my girlfriend. It's harder to relate to that when you're already married or you've already had kids. Like that part of your life is so long ago. If the jury was made up of college kids, Spencer probably wins. But because it's not, Jeremy wins. I'm not saying that's guaranteed. I'm saying the jury was older and therefore related to Jeremy more than Tasha and Spencer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, even when you look at the younger people who were there, you look at like Sierra is the youngest person on that jury, but she's a single mom. Like she has kids at that point. So yeah. I also think the problem is Spencer's robot arc didn't actually change. The show just tried to tell us it was changing. Spencer, when people start bringing up GameBot, Will and I did this for a Patreon podcast like a long time ago now, where somebody said rank the best GameBots. We really had a hard time naming a GameBot other than Spencer, because Spencer is the quintessential GameBot. And I think Spencer, being who Spencer was, really that invented this term GameBot, and people started getting lumped in there who weren't truly GameBots. Like Spencer tried to do the social game, but it was so transparent. And he obviously doesn't have as bad of a social game as somebody like Russell Hantz, but he doesn't have a good social game at all. And Jeremy's social game was excellent. Now, Spencer and Tasha are the ones who tell, Jeremy, hey, we want to talk about Jeremy's worst move. Hey, Jeremy, Kimmy's coming for you at Final 6. Would have been an absolutely brilliant move by Kimmy if she was able to pull it off. Jeremy doesn't want to believe it, so he can pick up on those things. But when it came to the social game, Cass was saying it after Cagayan, like this is not who he is as a person. The edit is not showing who he really is. And then in Cambodia, they tried to really like drive home that he was this changed guy. He plays the exact same game and he's still using people as pawns. And that's why he ultimately gets 0 votes at the end. And Jeremy, who everybody connected with on a real human level, even beyond the kid thing, ends up sweeping the jury.
Right. Yeah. Jeremy's social game was superior. It's interesting though, when you watch the Cagayan Ponderosa videos, that you see all these people telling Spencer, we would have voted for you to win. We would vote for you to win. And that just adds fuel to the fire of Spencer getting 0 votes in Cambodia. It's like, okay, what was different? What was different with this cast? Because it's only a year removed. Cagayan was just, or was it 2 years ago? Cagayan would have been 2 years ago before Cambodia. So, he's more mature. He's a little older, not too much older, but it's like, what's different? It's the cast. It's 1000% the cast, because Spencer is basically the same person as he was first time around, and just doesn't get the respect. And I think props to Jeremy. Props to Jeremy for connecting with everybody and I think Jeremy was also a threat to win Winners at War as well. He just couldn't make the moves to get to the end, but I think he was a threat to win that season too if he gets to the end.
I totally agree. I think Jeremy's game disappoints me a little bit in Winners at War because he doesn't take that next step to get to the end, and therefore his game seems so passive. And I think that's the thing with Jeremy's game. If Jeremy doesn't win, it is a passive game. He's constantly looking to keep bigger threats in the game. He wants Fishbag. He wants Joe. He wants Savage. He wants Spencer, because all of those people are going to be seen as bigger threats than him. And I think that's why Cambodia is so satisfying for a lot of people. While I don't love that the final 5 is from 2 seasons and 3 of the final 5 are the same starting tribe, that's the
final 7 from 2 seasons plus Abby Maria, I think.
Plus Abby Maria, and so it really.
I forgot, yeah.
Yeah, it really bothers me. I think it's when you get down, what is it, to final 8, you're talking 6 of your final 8 are from the 3 most recent seasons. Plus then you have Abby Maria in there. Kimmy's the only old schooler, and there were so many great old school casting choices on this season. Savage, Terry, PG, Varner at the time. I know people will say no now, but Varner coming into Cambodia, that was an incredible casting choice. So popular. He comes back again 3 seasons later. You had all these people, Kelly Wigglesworth. We wanted to see them. And then it's Kimmy who ends up being the one who goes the furthest out of those old schoolers, which that's a bummer to me. But what I will say is I think the reason why Cambodia resonates so much with people is because a lot of the threats were in the game late, and that doesn't generally happen on these all returning player seasons. If you think about all stars, all the winners are gone before the merge, plus Colby. So it's like, what are we doing? You think about heroes versus villains, a lot of the threats are gone early. You lose JT, you lose Tom. Like, yes, you end up having a very good end game, but that's just because that cast was perfect. You think about game changers, which we'll get to. You lose almost everybody you wanted to see on that season before the merge of that season. And so I think that's why this one resonates, because part of Jeremy's plan was keep the alphas in, keep the people that are always going to be looked at ahead of me in the game. And he does a great job of that. It also helps that he only goes to one tribal council in the pre-merge, but he does do a great job of managing the relationships and making people like Joe feel like, no, we're on the same level. Like, we're on the same level of threat, when really he's just saying, Joe, if you got to go, at least it's you. It's not me. I get one more episode to figure out how to move forward.
Yeah. Cambodia is just, and it's, you know, it's the last season where it really felt like they embraced the location too, in a way that was, you know, it felt like the location was an important part of the show. Because even when they moved to Fiji with 33, you would think, okay, 33, 34, it's probably when they'll embrace the location the most. The newest, you know, they didn't know for sure they're going to stay there as long as they have now, but they don't really do anything in Fiji that embraces the locals, that embraces the culture. Whereas Cambodia, they're embracing the culture. Koh Rong, they don't embrace the culture as much, but they still do like some stuff. But yeah, Cambodia is the last season where they really embrace the culture in a way that, you know, that we like on Survivor, that we want, and that they could do in Fiji. They just choose not to, and I'm not too sure. And I've been to Fiji; they have culture. It's not just America on an island, you know. It is a different culture.
Well, and that's like the two of the best moments of this season. Both involve Keith, in my opinion, and it's him on the two rewards he goes on with the tuk, and then with when he goes and he's sitting there in the temple, and he's going, if you would have asked me, did Keith just get off the spaceship from Mars, or is he sitting in the Cambodian temple? Well, he just got off a spaceship from Mars. Like, I love those two moments, because it really is, you know, that's what Survivor used to be about. It used to be about taking people out of this world that they're so used to and putting them in a place that they never could go. And I know now the world has gotten smaller. It's easier to travel. Like, if you get the right deal, you could spend $600 on an international flight. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as crazy nowadays, but still, Survivor used to be about going to these remote locations and doing these things that you couldn't necessarily do unless you had millions of dollars, or unless you were doing whatever, like that hot air balloon ride in Africa, that whole safari, like that is so expensive, and that is more isolated. You know, that's not just, hey, we're going to take you into this, you know, you think about even in Africa when they go to the village and they used to do that village reward, like those are things you can't travel to. You can't buy that. And that's what Survivor used to be about. And that happens in Cambodia. And I think you're right. I think it's probably the last time they do something where it's like, you can't really buy this. And we get Keith from Keithville, Louisiana, living on Keith Road, going to the, you know, the Angkor Wat Temple and being like, oh my God, this is absolutely incredible. And it's a shame they stopped doing that.
And it says a lot that I can tell you that I took, you know, a plane flight with my wife to Fiji and visited almost every Survivor location, because it's at a resort, you know, because it's so easily accessible, and that makes it easier to film, but it does take away the specialness of the locations, and Cambodia still has that specialness that I appreciate. And it's just, it's a shame, because they definitely could do more culture stuff there. They really could. They just choose not to. That could be a cost thing. I blame a lot of things on creativity. I don't know if that's creativity or cost. It could be just cost, honestly.
And you know what else it was?
They've been settling for the sanctuary, you know, or eating at your camp a lot.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, especially now with the 26 days, but I think what happened was, it was one of those things where this Cambodia Koh Rong location was so brutal that they said, we need to just go to Fiji. And then once they were in Fiji and they realized they couldn't take us to new things every season, rather than being like, oh, we're going to take you to this same, you know, school, or we're going to take you to the same place, they just kind of said, okay, well, we're just going to keep it. We're going to try to do more of like, hey, look, you're at camp and they can see you eating, or they can do this, or they can do that. Like, they went for that. They tried to make it more of like, even winning a reward was more strategic and you were still having to worry about yourself. I don't know. I think about in the one, I forget what season it is. I think it's in Millennials vs. Gen X, when they go on like the boat, like they're in the middle of the water and they're all eating.
Go on that, Phil. Do you want to know what it's called? Cloud9. Look up Cloud9 in Fiji. You can go on it. It's just a thing you can go on. It's not that special. So don't get me wrong. If you go there, it's cool. It's special in that sense. But you can Google it right now, Phil. Cloud
I
Nine
just did.
Fiji. Yep. How much is it? It's like $100 to go on it, I think.
I have to actually find the price, but it is funny though. Like then in that episode, they're yelling at Brett. Brett, why are you yelling? Why are you yelling? And that's with the loved ones and everything like that. And it's like,
oh, because they can see them from the camps. What you're saying?
Yeah. I think I'm actually mixing that with Cambodia, but all right.
No, you're right. That was Millennials Gen X. I just watched it.
Yeah,
and that's where Adam reads his letter about his mom who went to the ballet. That's the same. That's the same reward. So, yes, no, I thought that was, by the way, that Cloud9 thing is super cool. If anybody else gets to go to Fiji, it's easier for people in Australia to go. Apparently, there's a lot of Australians there, and they did not know about Survivor. So we were at Tribal Council, Phil, and at the Tribal Council set, and there's these Australians like walking by or on golf course, like, what is this? Is this something special? And I like had to explain, like, it's a TV show and like they film, and they're like, it's just over the heads. So
I love that. Yeah, it's $30 pizzas. It's not bad at all.
I didn't say it was cheap. I just said it's easy to do.
$30 for a pizza. I mean, I live in LA. I mean, $30 for
Fijian dollars. That's actually much less American. Our dollar's worth more. That's why you're filming there. So I don't know if that's 30 Fijian dollars or 30 US dollars, but yeah. Anyways, Cambodia, beautiful location. Jeremy wins easily. Not that he doesn't work for it, but he just does really well. And he has the emotional arc that you kind of get with Adam again, where people are like, oh, Jeremy only won because at Final Tribal, he said, I'm having a son. You know, he got that emotional. I think that was just cherry on top. Like, there's icing on the cake, extra icing, because I think he was already winning. That was not the difference. It was a nice touch. People felt, again, that had kids, like, oh wow, that means a lot because he's only had girls so far and he really wanted a boy. And then on Winners Award they do a follow-up and he has 2 boys, I think, at that point. It's just, I don't know, it's a good emotional story to go with the strategy, and it's nice that it didn't feel forced. It wasn't, let's do sob stories to get you emotionally attached to the person. It just happened because that's where they were in their life, in a way that felt natural to include in the story, and I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate the natural storytelling. And this season had hero challenges. Where did those go? Or it had one hero
Savage
challenge.
versus Terry versus Jeremy was such a great challenge.
Yes.
I don't know why they don't do that more.
Phil, why don't they do that instead of journeys? It's the same amount of setup. It's simple. And then you get your tribes cheering for you, which adds, instead of watching Stephanie LaGrossa hold her arm above her head for an hour with like, what, 6 or 7 camera guys there, just like, how awkward is that? But then if you're doing a hero challenge, that would be fun to watch, and it doesn't require a lot of setup to do.
Yeah. No, I know. I don't know why they don't do those. I mean, that one's awesome with Savage, like barely being able to get his body up there and then winning it. We've never been hungrier. And like, he can't even talk at the end. I don't know why they don't do that stuff anymore. I mean, it's also, Cambodia has a lot of good, but then Cambodia also, like, you start to see the trajectory of where Survivor's going. And that's what I always say. That's what
the trust clusters, the voting blocks, which is just fancy words for temporary alliances.
And what's funny,
another way of calling it that.
And I'm sorry, but like, what's funny about all of that, if you go and look, Jeremy votes for Monica, Jeremy votes for Sierra when Cass goes home, but that's a split vote. He votes for Kelly when Savage, gets blindsided. Everybody votes for Kelly. Then he does vote for Wigglesworth. He votes for Sierra, plays the idol on Steven. He votes for Joe at the episode where Steven goes home, which I don't think he's happy about Steven going home. He wanted it to be Joe, but then it's Joe, Abby Maria, Kimmy, whatever. He votes correctly every time, and if he's not voting correctly, he's still in the know of what the vote's going to be. So with all these trust clusters and whatever nonsense Jeff wants to push down your throat and said, you have to make big moves to win this game.
Big moves win.
Jeremy just plays a very straightforward, normal game the entire time, and that's why he wins. And so if you get caught up in wanting to make Jeff happy, you're not going to win Survivor. If you get caught up in, I want to win Survivor and I'm just going to navigate everything that's thrown at me, you'll win Survivor. And Jeremy proves that on this season. Sarah proves it again 2 seasons later, 3 seasons later, whatever it is.
Tommy proves it on Island of the Idols, despite how much I dislike that season. Of course. Like the perfect example of just avoid all the nonsense. And Jeremy, for the most part, avoids the nonsense. Idols are fine. Idols are amazing. Look at him playing the idol for Steven might be his best move, because even though Steven goes, I think, the very next vote, like, it solidified trust with Steven, and like, that's a guarantee. It's like you've locked in Steven as a vote for you at the end of the game. That's a jury vote right there, that you won that idol play, and you got what you wanted out of that tribal, which was not Steven going.
And so I think that is his best move.
Yeah, that's his best single move besides winning final immunity, because he could have gone at final 3. I don't think he would have. I think Kelly Wentworth still goes, but
Now, are you somebody?
Final four. Sorry, final four. Yeah.
Vlad the Impaler says, "Are you guys Wentworth truthers? Do you think Wentworth could have beaten Jeremy had she gotten to the end?"
I think okay. So I have to look at the jury because I think Wentworth had a lot of supporters.
She did.
She beat Jeremy. Okay, who's she replacing? Is she replacing? Doesn't matter. Spencer or Tasha, I guess. Neither got any votes.
Because both of them are going to vote for Jeremy. Spencer and Tasha are both going to vote for
Yeah,
Jeremy.
that's a good. Well, especially Spencer.
And then neither of them
Tasha
are getting votes over Jeremy or Kelly. So it's
Jeremy guaranteed gets the. Well, Wentworth votes for Jeremy, so Jeremy doesn't lose a vote. It's just a different person who votes for him because Wentworth votes for him already. Looking out the jury, you got Cass. Does Cass vote for Wentworth? I think so.
I think so.
Savage votes for Jeremy, so you got 1-1. Kelly Wigglesworth.
She votes for Jeremy.
She votes for Jeremy. So that's 2 Jeremy, 1 Wentworth. Sierra,
100%.
I think vote for Wentworth.
100%.
We're at 2-2.
Yep.
Steven votes for Jeremy. It's 3-2. Joe votes for Jeremy. It's 4-2. I'm assuming.
Joe's close though. I could see
Maria,
Joe potentially winning Wentworth.
Abby Maria votes for Wentworth. We're at 4-3.
Sure.
Kimmy Kappenberg.
Is
that a Wentworth vote?
Maybe. I mean, she was pretty pissed at Jeremy at the end, wasn't she?
And she's part of the tie vote with Wentworth to get out Jeremy. Like she wanted to get Jeremy, and that didn't happen. So I think she votes for Wigglesworth. We're at 4-4. Keith votes for Jeremy. Yeah, he's gonna be split between Wentworth and Jeremy. They're both from the same season. If you think he votes for Jeremy, it's 5-4. And then the question is, and then we just said Tasha or Spencer, it doesn't matter who votes. Jeremy wins 6-4 in this hypothetical situation, but that's a close vote.
And Kelly has a good argument to make at that final tribal council if she gets there. Of like, I came in, I had to do this, I had to do that. My back was constantly against the wall with the idol plays, all of that. Like Kelly did play a really impressive game, and I think that Sierra and stuff would have really been fighting for her on that jury. I think Kelly has a better chance to win there. She probably sweeps Tasha and Spencer, and if she doesn't sweep them, she definitely beats them. But Jeremy versus Wentworth would have been very, very, very close. And I just think ultimately it comes down to we're both dads, we're both firefighters. That's what Keith ultimately chooses to vote for Jeremy there.
Yeah, I think it's a 6-4 vote just looking at the jury, but it's close, and it does make for a more intense final tribal between the two of them.
And I think the bummer for Kelly is had it been a 5-5 tie, she loses because she's not getting Spencer vote at the end.
Well, so again, though, Phil, apparently the rule changed with Game Changers. So who knows what the rule was this season?
Crazy.
Who knows what happens if there's a tie? What are we making fire at the live reunion? What are we doing?
So crazy. So crazy.
Jeremy's game, though, where do you think it ranks with all the fans? Well, with the thousands
14.
and thousands of fans. Fifth.
Oh, wow. That's really
5.
High.
Where do you think the season ranks?
Probably 10.
5. Both are 5.
Okay, that's high. I think that's high for both. I like Jeremy. I like this season, but I think that's high for both. I
actually agree with Jeremy's ranking personally. I mean, he's top 10 for sure. I've said that about hopefully no more than 10 people by the time we're done with this podcast. When I think top 10, I'm thinking like these are like winners. I'm like, okay, like you deserve to be in the top 10. But the season itself, like it's above. Okay, so it's right below Micronesia, which I think is fair. It's right above China and Winners at War. I know you agree that Winners at War is worse than Cambodia. I know you like China more, so you probably move China above it.
Yeah, I have Cambodia. Cambodia is one of those seasons where, again, I feel like I like the season. I don't love the season as much as everybody else. I currently have it ranked 13 through the first 33, but it's probably going to drop 2 more spots after that. David versus Goliath will be ahead of it, and then I'll probably have one of the seasons in the 40s ahead of it. So it's like it's going to still be top 15, top 16, somewhere in that range. I just think like when people talk about that season, I feel like there's a lot of things that bother me about it. One, Terry Dietz having to be pulled from the game is a huge bummer for me. I'm such a big Terry Dietz fan. I hate that all of the old schoolers are pretty much out of the game with the exception of Kimmy by final 8.
That's pre-winners at war. It's pre-winners at war is what this is. The same thing happens that season, all the old schoolers.
Yeah, and that's what bums me out. Like I liked Vetus. I liked PG. I liked Varner. I like Terry. I like Cass. I like Savage. Like I'd rather see them go further. And I love the Wentworth storyline, but Keith and Kimmy never feel like they can win. And imagine if instead of Keith and Kimmy, that was Savage and Terry or something like that. Yeah. If that's Terry and Wigglesworth, and Wigglesworth actually was good TV on this season, or
gosh, it was terrible TV.
Yeah, terrible. I mean, she
Her
didn't want to be
ego is
there.
through the roof for somebody who is not that big of a deal.
Yeah, she did not want to be there at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Very fun season to rewatch, though. Has its flaws. I don't know. It's a good season that embraces the location and has a satisfying winner. Like it's hard to fault the season for that. Like overall, you're gonna finish it and be like, yep, that was a good season. And I think not all seasons can say that by any means.
Agreed.
You know? And the cast was here to play for the most part. I know you said a couple people, but like for the most part, the cast was here to play.
I mean, everybody was there to play. It just felt like it felt like Kimmy was there to play. She just wasn't translating to TV. Keith was there to play. He just wasn't translating to TV. You had these other great narrators, and then Wigglesworth just like that's not the game she wanted to play.
Keith's a character, obviously.
Yeah, he is.
Love Keith. Keith's character, though. All right, well, are you ready to move on to your I think this is your favorite winner. I don't know if she's still your favorite, but she's definitely one of them.
Yeah, I mean, so we're up to Michele. So Michele is one of my favorite winners of all time. I mean, I love the Michele game. It's obviously so much more because everybody was saying it was Aubrey, and I just had to be a Michele truther the entire season. And especially when you're early on in the podcasting world, being right means so much because, as you know, I'm sure, and I don't know if your fans are as bad, but especially during 50, you know, our numbers, we went up by like 4 or 5 times from one season to the next in terms of like weekly viewership and all of that.
People are not interested in 49 that much.
Yeah, and so we get into 50 and you just get a bunch of people like, we hate you, you're an idiot, I don't know why you're here. And I'm just like, delete that comment. I got one the other day that I'm vile for ranking Erica as low as I did, and like they were being serious. They like left 2 comments about it. I'm like, y'all need to calm the hell down. Like it's not that big of a deal. But what my point is with this is when you're in this community, people love to tell you that you're wrong and they love to rub your nose in it. And one of my favorite things to do is when I'm right is rub everybody else's nose in it and be as cocky about it as humanly possible because it's really, really funny. And it was what I did with Gabler because I kept saying, if it's not going to be Jesse, it's going to be Gabler. And the Michele win, I kept saying the entire season. And I was still saying, you know, Aubrey probably pulls this out, but they kept giving Michele all this content the entire time. And I was like, guys, Michele could win this season. Like Michele has a chance. And I was such a Michele fan and she was my preseason winner pick and I just latched onto it. And what's so fascinating about Michele is it is 100% social game. It is 100% social game.
And the show doesn't know what to do with that when telling the story.
Because what I will say is there's no other winner that is 100% social game. Everybody else has some sort of strategic move, right?
Michele wins immunities. That's not social game.
That's part of it, but like she wins the Final Four immunity. That is why she ends up surviving Final Four, the Michele Tower, obviously.
She was supposed to go. Yeah.
But for me, it's like when you're looking at this game, when Debbie goes home, Aubrey and Sydney always get the credit for that move because they go and they talk to Julia. But if Julia and Michele don't have the relationship they have, that vote doesn't happen. Like Michele is just as integral to that vote as Sydney and Aubrey. The show just doesn't know how to reveal that to us because it's all social game. But Michele being as close with Julia as she is why that ultimately is able to take place. Otherwise, Michele and or Julia don't vote that way. And guess what? It's not Debbie who's going home. It's probably Sydney who's going home, or it's Scott Pollard who's going home. And I think people lose sight of that throughout the game. And that's what always gets me. Like Michele's social game is impeccable this season. You see her doing it. And Aubrey's biggest mistake is that throughout the entire season, as if you're not in Aubrey's alliance, she's kind of like, whatever. She talks to Scott a little bit, but it's kind of like, see you later, buddy. I'll see you next time. I'll see you when I'm at the final tribal council and you're on the jury. And Michele did such a good job of talking to everyone at all times. And the show just didn't know how to show it. But what's amazing is she has one of the biggest female edits of any female winner in the history of the show. And I'm going to find these numbers to prove it.
Okay. Well, I do see every season that people, yes, they love to tell you when you're wrong, but then if you're right, there's no like, oh yeah, no, you're right. So it's whatever. I mean, that's just the internet. But this is the first season I watched live, getting out of the Navy. So this is around the time I got out, and So I hadn't watched Survivor since Fiji. So watching this, I thought Aubrey was going to win, like straight up. Like I was a super casual. I hadn't watched since Earl's season. So watching this season, like Michele wins, I remember finishing the season going, wait, why did she win? Why would Michele win? Because the show was not interested in telling her story. And even going back, and I made videos on Aubrey's game, Michele's winning game. It's like the Ponderosa doesn't help too much because why does Debbie vote for Michele? There's never an explanation. She's only praising Aubrey. It's because Debbie's Debbie. Like, I guess, like what changed Debbie's mind? I don't know. They didn't get it on camera from what I gathered. But it's just, the show does not do a great job in telling the story of why Michele won. But Scott does kind of sum it up at Final Tribal when he says, had you told me 4 days ago, that you're the biggest threat here, like I wouldn't have believed it. But seeing how you finished this game strong and how the other two kind of faltered at the end, props to you, and he like applauses her. And while it is Scott and he is a villain, a major villain that they don't do anymore, I think that's kind of what the show wanted you to come away with, is that's why she won. Kind of like when Eric said, Natalie, why is your way of winning the bad way of winning, or bad way of playing the game versus Russell? It felt like that kind of moment, but for Michele.
Well, and that's the thing. People will say, oh, well, she only got the votes because the jury was bitter and they were a bunch of assholes. That's Survivor, baby.
Yeah.
Like, that's Survivor. You need to get, like your vote's just as good as him. It's, what was the, Michael Jordan had the book of like, and I don't mean to get political here, but he had the book called Republicans Buy Sneakers Too, or something like that. And it's like, or he had the quote of that where he said, Republicans buy sneakers too, because somebody had asked him at one point, like, why are you so, and he's like, because they buy sneakers. Like, I want everybody to like my stuff. And I feel like that's kind of where Michele went with this. Like, Michele at the time was a bartender in New Jersey. And the part of New Jersey she's in is a lot of different personalities. Freehold is in this area where you're getting some beach town. You're getting people who are coming from North Jersey. You're getting people who are coming from South Jersey. You're getting retirees. You're getting wealthy. You're getting not that wealthy. You're getting people coming from like the Trenton and Philly area. It is an area of New Jersey where you're getting so many different kinds of personalities. And so for me, it's like she understood Scott's vote is one vote. It counts just as much as Julia's vote, which counts just as much as Sydney's vote. And I think that is why she ultimately wins the game. And I think it really is, it's awesome. And so if you look at Michele's win, I have it right here in terms of percentage of the edit she was supposed to get. She's actually the most properly edited winner in the history of the show in terms of how much confessional and screen time she got compared to every other player on her season. She was 1% higher than the average on her season. But out of all the women, she's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th best edit. And a lot of those above her are new era winners who had more time to tell their story. If Michelle's
literally longer episodes.
Yeah, they're going to give her more of a Kenzie edit. So if you remove the new era winners, she's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th biggest female edit of any winner in the show. She's right behind Sandra and Natalie, and actually finishes with more confessionals than both of those players. And I mean Natalie Anderson.
Yeah. It really is that the show props up Aubrey so much as the face of the season and as the narrator. So here's the crazy thing, Phil. We got to talk about this because it's so prominent. So we have this season, people come away with it with Aubrey was wronged, and then there's people like, no, Michele earned it. And like, can I agree with both? Because I think that the show portrayed that Aubrey was robbed, but also I believe that Michele earned it. Like, I believe both in this case. Now, had I been there, I wouldn't have been like Aubrey's robbed. But watching the show, I'm like, how can I not come away thinking this? Winners at War. Michele's like, well, people thought my win was controversial. And Boston Rob, king of controversial wins, tells her, if you win, you win. And that's the end of the story. Mm-hmm. I know that Tom said that in Heroes vs. Villains, but we're starting with Michele. That's in the edited show. It's not the reunion. It's in the edited show. A win's a win. It counts. Got to prop up your third place finisher this season. We go to 50. Well, Michelle's not here. Time to prop up Aubrey. And people on the island are saying, Aubrey should have won or co-wrong. Or Aubrey, people think Aubrey should have won co-wrong is what they say. Whatever. And so it's like propping up Aubrey. And we constantly reflect. And Aubrey at one point is like, I learned from Michele doing X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it's where you're getting at. Don't worry. Yeah. I got you. But
I got to make sure you got me.
There's so many references to co-wrong in the sense of like people thought Aubrey should have won. So the perception of Aubrey is that she deserves a win. And that's why Jonathan lost, or at least it's part of the story of why Jonathan lost. It's not the whole story, but it's just like it really came full circle with 50 in a weird way that I wasn't expecting. Like, even if Aubrey won, I expected like one reference, but they did it like 5 times. So it's almost like 50 and Co Wrong go hand in hand in a weird way, even though they really shouldn't.
I agree with you. I was very fascinated when watching 50 and seeing how so much of what the story of Aubrey's was, because they were really having a hard time telling Aubrey's story, which is ironic that the season they have a hard time telling her story is the one she wins, just like with Michele.
But like, when she loses, it's so easy. Yeah.
But it's so easy, right? And I was very impressed with the fact that the show was giving Michele a lot of credit for her win on that season, where they kept on talking about, this is what Michele did. I like Aubrey saying, some people say played a bad social game. I don't think I did, but I learned from Michele that it's about the timing. It's about what you need to do. And maybe she's just saying those words to say those words. But at the same time, that is true. Like, Michele's social game is ultimately what won her the game over Aubrey. And you could say Scott, Jason, Julia, they all voted for Aubrey, or all voted for Michele. Yeah, they did. And they all count. And we have this comment here from Jairo Garcia. Michele got lucky that Joe got medical evacuation. Without medical evacuation, Michele would have gone at Final 5 because Aubrey wore challenge at Final 4 would have been immunity. Okay. If Neil doesn't get medevaced at Final 11, Aubrey's out of the game. Like, that's what people always disregard with this, and it drives me crazy. Sure, Michele got lucky at Final 5. Aubrey is going home when Neil goes home. That is a fact. That is not like a subjective question thing. She was going home at that tribal. And for anybody who says, well, maybe Neil would have played the idol for her, Neil wouldn't even give her the idol when he was out of the game.
Neil was super selfish, and you see that on Ponderosa as well. Neil was not giving her the idol or playing it for her. No way. No way. Neil was so full of himself. It was hard to watch. It was so hard to watch. If you watch those Ponderosa videos, oh my gosh. He like, really I know they're gonna bring me back. I know it for sure. It's like, Neil, you're not that interesting.
Yeah. You wore ice cream pants. That's it. No, so that's my thing. Like, yes, I understand that Michele got lucky at Final 5. Aubrey got unbelievably lucky early on when Neil gets medevac, because Aubrey is going home there, and then it's not even a conversation because it doesn't matter where Joe gets medevac. And I'm going to be honest with you, if Aubrey goes home as early as she did, I still think Michele probably wins this season. Like, truly, she was that good socially and was able to bounce back and forth. And the other thing is, she really gained the respect of the brawn from the early time, which was just something that ultimately Aubrey wasn't able to do. What's also underrated here, Sydney votes for Michele over Aubrey.
Yep. Yeah.
Which you wouldn't get from the edit.
The Debbie and Sydney votes for Michele are like telling, because like it feels like Aubrey should have got the Sydney and Debbie votes, but it just didn't happen. Even Debbie at Final Tribal's like praising Aubrey, and I don't know if she says anything to Michele, but they just leave the Aubrey stuff in. It's like, okay, she's voting for Aubrey, and then she doesn't. It's like, this is what I mean by the story being like, what are you doing? You already know where we're going. Give me something to latch onto for why this happens, and they don't want to, or they can't. It's one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Michele's game is fascinating. I think Ko-Rong's one of my all-time favorite seasons. I absolutely love it. I love the cast. I love Scott. I love Jason. Like, I love that type of villainy. I actually think Kyle Jason, one of the most underrated characters / players in the history of the show. I think he's phenomenal.
Him and Scott drive a lot of the entertainment because they lose. Because they lose. It's the key part. They have to lose. The villains have to lose. If they win, it makes the season feel but like, seeing them lose, and because of Ty, the way they treated Ty was just like chef's kiss, because the Ko-Rong super idol that doesn't even become a super idol. It never becomes one. It's just the potential of a super idol is what drives decisions. And it reminds me of knowledge is power in the way of like, that thing has never been successful. But when I look back, I'm like, it's given us moments though, and people making decisions because of it. So like, it's one of the better new era ideas based on how it's played out. Like, it's worked. It's never worked the way they intended it when they invented the idea, but it's worked in terms of making people do different things in a natural way. Like, that was not the intention. Same as Ko-Rong Super Idol. Like, I'm sure they were not thinking, maybe they were thinking that this is how it would play out with Ty, but obviously they were just thinking 2 people work together and make a super idol, and that would be interesting. But seeing it fall apart and seeing those people go. And it's like Scott could have played the idol for himself, but he chose not to because he was so confident about the super idol. And it's like, and then he's on Ponderosa with his idol, and people are like, what are you doing with an idol here?
Well, and it's funny because if you listen to Will every now and then, my podcast partner, I don't know how much you listen to us, but like if you listen to Will every now and then, he has these moments of gold. And because he worked on the show for a period, one of his arguments is,
what season did he work on? I didn't know he worked on the show. I have listened, but I haven't heard him say that.
He did 35 through 38. That's why he disappeared and Alexa came in. Yeah, so he was 35 through 38. He was actually on location. And then he still worked on the show a little bit during like 39, 40, and I think 41 and 42. I could be wrong on that though.
Sure.
But anyway, so Will, he always says with a twist or an advantage or something like that, it doesn't have to play out the way it was designed to be successful. It can be something different than they ever imagined and still be successful. And he always points to Knowledge is Power as an very, very, very successful Survivor twist, because even though it never plays out the way it was designed, it is creating drama, it is creating tension, it is creating all of these great moments, which at the end of the day is more important than it playing out in the correct way.
People handing idols to Jesse because of their worry about Knowledge is Power 43 is just like top new era moments right there. And it's part of why Jesse's such an amazing player. His social game got people to hand him idols, and then he gets to keep them. He keeps them both. Just insane. All because of Knowledge is Power, though, existing in the thread of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Knowledge Power, the idea was to stop people being like Ben and doing Ben bombs, I imagine. Or I think it was the idol nullifier was that, but people didn't like the idol nullifier, so they invented Knowledge is Power instead.
Because the idol nullifier was inherently unfair.
Yeah, then I don't know if I get the concept, and it's in the Survivor board game, whatever you want to call it. So they like it enough to leave it in there. But Knowledge is Power is definitely the better way of handling people being public about idols, which was the obvious thing they were trying to deal with that.
Yeah.
But it hasn't done it. People in the new era still just tell everybody everything all the time.
I know. Well, now because like the threat of Knowledge is Power is kind of gone. All right.
Well, we get people like Eva getting it, and she already has everything, or Sophie B getting it, and she waits till the last possible moment to do something when like 4 advantages have already been existing and been played that she could have taken. It's like, all right, well, that's just the player then. That's not the advantage.
It still breaks my heart that she did that wrong. God,
buddy, she could have stolen Steven's advantage. Like, she's like, oh, she all mad about it, but like, you could have stolen it last week. You knew he had it last week. You don't have to
play it right away. Just take it.
Just take it. He's not on your side. Just take it. So it's the whole thing, man.
I do want to talk about Michelle's before we talk about like winner stats and all of that. Michelle's final tribal performance is great. And that is, I think like Aubrey's final tribal was good, but Aubrey thought she had it in the bag. I think for Michele, she knew that she was coming in and she was gonna have to defend herself. And you see her starting to feel herself throughout. I think at one point she like does like a little flex or something towards Scott. Mm-hmm. And I think that Michelle's final tribal, she gave everybody what they wanted. And her growth was very apparent because a lot of times you'll see these younger women. I think at the time, Michele was only like 24 or 25 years old. Like she wasn't an older 20. She was 24. So young 20s.
And Aubrey's 29. Yeah.
Aubrey's 29. So you figure when you sit there and you look at Michelle's game, a lot of times these younger women get overwhelmed at these final tribal councils because they almost feel like they're being attacked. They don't defend themselves very well. And that's why really, I think it's Sophie and Michele are the 2 youngest female winners. Because more, at least before the new era, because more often than not,
Jenna, Maraska, but
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
The youngest, I think, still is the youngest.
I think you're right, but it's like so. There's so few though young women who truly win because it's like they don't necessarily know how to define their game. And I think Michele had a lot of help from the jury. Some of the jury was on her side, but it's like with Sydney and Debbie voting for her, those were not 2 votes she had locked in going to that.
No.
Julia, Scott, and Kyle were always going to vote for her. So this is a 4-3 vote. At worst for Michele, where she loses by 1. But to get those other votes, she had to have a good final tribal. And I think she really started to feel the momentum and said, okay, I need to take advantage of this stuff. And Michele was able to take advantage of what the jury was giving her. And that's something like I see Daryl Seymour saying Michele didn't have to defend. Aubrey got the attack. Yeah, Aubrey got attacked, but Aubrey wasn't able to defend her game the way she needed to get the votes. Whereas Michele was able to take the info that was coming and use it. Like Troyzan doesn't take the info that's coming and use it. Bob Crowley takes the info that's coming and flips it so that he almost loses the game. Like there's a lot of players who would not handle what the jury was giving Michele as well as Michele did. And I think it's one of the best final tribal performances. And that's the moment where she wins the game because she doesn't have the game won going into that final tribal.
I'll never knock somebody though for watching the season and thinking that Aubrey should have won, because that's just, I know that you said Michele's a prominent edit, but they gave Aubrey an even more prominent edit. And also I guess I can relate, because I watched season the first time, I was like, the heck, the heck, like what? Watching my family, I remember them being like, that wasn't a satisfying winner, which says a lot about how they told the story.
You want to hear the second most insane fact? Let me give you one last stat.
Okay.
One last stat, and then we get to yours. Out of every single female winner prior to season 40, where's Marianne? No, prior to season 45, when they went to the longer episodes. So that includes Marianne, that includes Erica.
Well, Marianne was not longer episodes.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. This includes Marianne and Erica.
Okay.
Michele has the second most confessionals of any female winner before they went to 90-minute episodes. The only woman with more was Tina Wesson, but that was also on a season where they were giving out confessionals every 3 seconds, because that's what the whole show was. The show, if you go look at Australia versus Korong, I think Korong has something like 300 fewer confessionals than Australia does. And so Michele is only behind Tina Wesson in terms of total number of confessionals on a season. And this is a woman who did not go to tribal council
until day 22. Yeah, day 22. It's insane.
And they still gave her a lot of confessionals. And I think if you rewatch the pre-merge, it's very telling. That's where it was telling for me.
They do a lot with her when there's no need.
Yeah, and they do a lot of her telling a story of like what she needs to do and what she needs to accomplish. And you're like, why? And she, I think, going into the merge, her and Aubrey have the same amount of confessionals, or they're only separated by one. It's the post-merge where Aubrey takes over because she's more exciting TV and what Survivor wanted.
You're saying Michele got more confessionals than Marianne?
Yes. That's Marianne crazy. Had 48. Michele had 57.
To me, it felt like Marianne was more prominent in the show than Michele.
Well, and what's funny
Marianne is went to more tribals.
And if you go by percentage of the confessionals like on the season, Marianne actually ended with a higher percentage, which is why she feels more prominent.
Okay.
So her season, she's actually 7% above what she should have had.
Michelle's pure numbers, Michele has more. Yeah. I gotcha. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Well, where do you think the fans rank her? And I'll also tell you where Aubrey's was as well, since they're so intertwined now.
Michele, I'm going to say like 37.
29. She's 29. Where do you think Aubrey is? Aubrey is lower. Where do you think Aubrey is?
43.
35. So 6 spots below Michele. And where do you think Korong ranks?
I would hope it's in the top 20, but I'm worried. I'm going to say 17.
Close, 16.
Okay.
17th is Africa and 15 is Philippines. So it's right below Philippines. Also, Michele is right below Marianne, right above Sophie Clark. Not right next to each other. That's a winner. And then Survivor 50 ranks in at 19th, so a few spots below Korong. I want to point out, though, and this is every single year, recency bias is a heck of a drug. So wait till next year, and the real rankings of Aubrey, Savannah, 50 and 49 will reveal themselves. Especially 50 in this case. 49 at least had some breathing room, but it's always that very first video I do ranking seasons and what. It's like, just give it another year if you want the real ranking. 50 and Aubrey, overloved and overhated at the same time.
That's how
next year, there'll be 2 more winners for us to be talking about, to be fresher in our minds, for people to love or hate or whatever. So yeah, we'll see how it goes next year. I don't know if I think Michele, by the way, was 20th last season. I think this is her spot. Mm-hmm. If anything, she comes on our season maybe, and then people remember her. But I think it's about where she'll stay, unless something else happens like that.
Also, I think you're good there with the overloved, overhated. I think that right now, hearing that ranking for 50, it's like, guys, 50 stinks. Like, let's move that way back. But I also think with Aubrey, I think Aubrey's being overhated right now. When we just did our rankings, we ranked her at 40, which is really, I think, really low. I think I had her at like 30 or something like that. I forget exactly what number I had her at. I have it right here. I had her at 34. But I think that people are like overhating on that game. And I think when we see what the open era looks like, her game probably moves up because, yeah, she didn't have a lot of control. There was a lot of luck involved. But if that's what the new era game is, if the new era game wants to reward you for not taking control, she did it better than anybody else. Like, she knew what she was doing the entire game. So I do think Aubrey's being a little overhated right now, and I think she will move up in the grand scheme of things. Will ranked her 48th.
I think that's insane. Aubrey, I don't know where I'd rank her, but if I had to say, I would say she would probably be around the spot she's in right now. With we're 35th is where I said she's ranked. Yeah, I would probably rank her around that area. I don't know if I put her lower, but I can't say I'd put her like extremely higher either. Yeah. But then when you talk about like legacies, like I think Aubrey as a overall character across 4 seasons is higher than that. But then again, that's a whole different ranking than winners. So
I mean, Aubrey, you can make the argument that Aubrey's a top 5 player of all time now, and people won't like that. But like, she has a 2nd place, a 5th place, a blow up, and then a win on an all returning season.
Yeah,
like you could make the argument.
Yeah, we'll get to 50 eventually, Phil. How many votes off was Michele from Her Perfect Game? I'm sure you already know this one.
You know, I should know this, but I really don't. Is it 4?
It's 4. No, you nailed it. She misses those 2 votes that Aubrey gets to the final tribal. It would have been, of course, Aubrey. No matter how, if Aubrey won jury removal, Michele still wins 4-3. Like it wasn't, the jury removal was impactful, but it didn't literally change the result, which I think people would have been more upset about if it had been. Like, had this vote been 4-3 or whatever, and it's like, well, if Aubrey had won, then she would have won 4-3. So Michele won 4. But thankfully, it was just one vote enough where it's like no one can argue that because of the jury removal, Aubrey lost.
And I think people, like, obviously Neil would have campaigned for Aubrey, but I don't think people liked Neil enough to really care.
No, Neil is watching Ponderosa of Korong is interesting. It's a good season of Ponderosa videos, but Neil is insufferable.
I met Neil one time. And I told him that Michele deserved to win, and he called me an idiot. So yeah, that's how I feel about Neil.
Yeah, Neil's a bit insufferable from what I saw on the show. All right, so that's it for Michele. You ready to move on to Adam and?
Well, wait, real quick. We didn't do best move, worst move.
Oh,
we're gonna be quicker on the others. I have to be long on Michele here. I'm sorry.
Best move. Her best move, I personally believe, is winning the final few challenges. She won 2 immunities and 1 jury removal, and I think that is part of why the jury saw her finish strong. It was said during Final Tribal. I think Scott, that's the kind of thing he respected. I think her best move is coming in strong at the challenges at the end.
I think it's getting rid of Neil. I think because she has the conversation of should I get rid of Joe, and then she has even conversation about maybe Kyle or Scott. Getting rid of Joe, I actually think would have been a bad look to the jury because they would have almost felt bad. It's like, here's a 71-year-old guy who gets all the way to 5th, has to get pulled from the game because he eats too much red meat. That's not a good person to remove from the jury. Like,
and they haven't cast anybody his age since, even though on the On Fire podcast, Jeff's like, we don't have an age bias. They so clearly do.
They do.
They so clearly do. Yeah. Look at the rumored cast, everybody, 51 and 52. There's an age bias. It's been there the whole new era. I don't know. It just sucks. It sucks.
Yeah. And then in terms of what's her worst move, like, she doesn't really have one. She doesn't go to the jury in the pre-merge. She gets rid of Nick. She gets rid of Debbie. When Scott goes, like, she puts votes on Ty because she's supposed to. She gets rid of Julia. I mean, her worst move, you could argue, was not trying to make a move on Aubrey earlier. But I also don't think that Kyle, Jason, and Scott and Julia would have wanted to go to the end with Michele. Like, I think they were all trying to go to the end together if they could make it happen. So I think she had to keep Aubrey as long as she
I guess at what point was she supposed to gun for Aubrey? Because there was a massive when Jason and Scott decided to do psychological warfare and Debbie goes that episode, though that isn't why she goes, but they're like in their mind, like, we won. That's not, whatever. Anyways, when was she supposed to go for Aubrey? Because once they do that whole psychological warfare, the moment Nick gets voted off, right? Nick goes and they're like, okay, we're going to hide stuff around the camp. We're going to put out the fire in front of everybody. Like, you have to then get rid of Scott, Jason, and Julia. They're all combined. Like, Julia made her bed when she got in with those 2. It's like, okay. And then Joe goes at the medical evacuation. Okay. So yes, I guess Aubrey at Final 4, which she tried to get rid of her, but Sydney lost at fire. And as Aubrey said on 50, the firing challenge took like an hour.
I also feel maybe at Final 8, if she had gotten to Ty first, because that's where Aubrey would have won. It would have been a tie between Scott and Aubrey, and then Ty would have gotten the 1 vote or whatever.
Yeah.
Just that's
like, when
really
was she supposed to go? The Debbie vote? Like, was she that big of a threat, the Debbie vote, to get rid of?
No, Debbie was the
No,
right word there.
I think that there were so many things that happened that's like they had to do what they had to do. They had to do what they had to do. So for the social game, this part of it, you don't want to leave people around that annoy others. Like, why did you leave Jason in the game? We hate that guy, Michele. I'm not voting for you, or I don't like you, or whatever.
And the way I feel about it is, you know, a lot of people will say, well, you know, this is why when we talk about perfect winner and all that, perfect game, all that different stuff, it's like, well, you know, if you're playing a perfect game of Survivor, you get close, you get 10-0. But the way I look at it is, if you can beat the best player in your season anyway, what does it matter? Like, she was able to beat Aubrey, which if she's able to beat Aubrey, she beats anybody then. Like, she beats Sydney. It's close, but I think it's 4-3 because I think that, you know, Scott, Jason, they all would, or yeah, they would have voted for Michele still. And so I think that, like, if you can beat the best player, who cares if you let them get there and they took a couple votes from you? You were going to beat them anyway. If you can beat the best, beat the best. I don't need you to go and clean sweep it and say, oh, well, I took easier people to the end. No way. Todd goes to the end with Amanda and Courtney. He wins. That's the best final three in the history of the show, and he wins it. It doesn't matter that Denise might have been easier to beat, or Jean Robert might have been easier to beat, or Jamie might have been easier to beat. He was able to beat the best people, so it doesn't matter.
It's just a stat. There's no real way. The ranking of the winners is so arbitrary, no matter how you look at it. Even with the stat of perfect winner, it's an arbitrary thing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, you know, Cochran's better than a bunch of other people who I actually think are better winners than Cochran. But I will say statistically better. But, like, what are we going to do? Like, we're ranking winners. We've talked about this the whole time. Different seasons, different rules, different players. Everybody didn't play under the same circumstances. So, yeah. I am ready to move on to Adam, though, if you're ready to move on to Adam.
I'm ready.
Can I open with, this is when Survivor, without us knowing, we did not realize this till later. They pulled a trick on us, a magic trick, an editing magic trick on us from 33 through 44. I know you know this one, Phil. The Matt chat reveals who the winner is from 33 through 44 on all newbie seasons. So whenever Jeff's like, hey, what's your name? Tell me your name. He always does it with the winner. He does it with other people, but the winner's always one of those people from Millennials versus Gen X through 44 with Jam Jam. And they stopped after the Jam Jam season because people were it was so, I was one of them, were so vocal online. Like, you're telling us that Jam Jam won because the other two people that season had already been voted off. We already know Jam Jam wins for weeks. You've spoiled your own show. But the fact of the matter is they got away with it for so long. Like, we didn't realize it. I think Gabler, people like connected the dots finally after Gabler's win. Like, there's a trend here. And it was becoming more obvious because the Matt chat was every season. But starting with Millennials versus Gen X, it wasn't every season. And also we had a couple returnee seasons in there, which mixed it up. So on newbie seasons from 33 through 44, you know who the winner is because it's one of the people get talked on the mat, which is just insane editing trick that I don't think they even knew they were doing, but they're like, oh, we got to stop doing it, you know?
It's so crazy that they did that because, like, yeah, why are you spoiling your Australian Survivor does that too, where if you watch one season, they spoil the entire season before. So like that was what sucked for me was when I finally started watching, what was it? Not Titans versus Rebels, the whatever season, Brains versus Brawn 2 or whatever I watched. I don't even remember, but whatever season.
Sandra, Blood versus Water?
No, it was much more recent. It was the one that, with Miles and AJ, and that was the first one I watched live. And the first thing they do is be like, "Yes." So when Ferris won, I'm like, "What are we doing?"
Oh yeah, when they spoiled the previous season, yeah.
I
know. Australian Survivor, man, they have a huge spoiler problem.
Yeah,
but yes, this show spoiling itself just in its own season is it's just like, oh man. But you don't know it yet. And this season, can't knock it. This is their first time in Fiji. The season opens up with a medical evacuation, a weather-related evacuation. Everybody has to leave the camps for like the night or however many hours it was. And it's just like, it's a cool way to start the season. They don't have people jump off the boat. They have them collect stuff on an island. And I almost wonder, Phil, if this opening of the season is because the weather was bad. They couldn't do it on the boat like they planned. Like Game Changers is on that boat, grab supplies, jump off the boat. But the weather was too bad. They're like, okay, let's plan it all on this island, which is not the Edge of Extinction Island. I don't know what island. I know some of them, but this one I didn't recognize immediately. But it's like, okay, you get to make a decision. Grab this item or grab this item. And it's like they probably planned on doing this on the boat, but they couldn't because of the weather, so they just moved it to the island.
Yeah, I mean, they got hit with like a literal cyclone.
Yeah, it was typhoon or whatever.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
the most dangerous start that the season's ever had. They were
They
really
handed them tarps on day 2 because they were worried.
well, and you got to remember, this is also coming on the heels of Korong and Cambodia, which were brutal seasons, and they didn't want the show to go down the route of 3 medevacs like they had in Cambodia or in Korong. They don't want that,
Yeah.
so they were like really concerned. I mean, obviously, this was an actual life or death kind of situation. I mean, you see that hut at the end of the night. The shelter is a tree falls on it. People would have been crushed, but they were much more concerned at this point. And it's funny that this never becomes a problem again on the show, if I'm not mistaken. I think the only other time it's really an issue is in David versus Goliath when Pat obviously hits the wave. But it's funny that, you know, even though their schedule is kind of the same all the time, they've never had another weather issue in Fiji the way they had it with this.
Well, I do know that the weather thing, it's always better. In Fiji, it's always better for the odd numbered season. It's not perfect, it's just better. But like Winners, because the Winners Award, it's like raining at Final Tribal. Like it's just pouring. They have nothing to do about it. But I'm trying to look at the schedule because I think in the new era, they start filming the first season later because they're doing less days. And I think that does help with the weather in the new era for the odd numbered seasons specifically. Because you're right, we don't see as much. I got to say, though, for those wondering, like, does Millennials versus Gen X hold up? It definitely does. And despite the fact they're filming in Fiji, it does not feel like a new era season. The people are here to bicker and fight. They're here to cause drama. They're here to get in showmances and be messy. They're here to play the game. It's not a perfect season, but it's a season where it definitely feels like after Korong in Cambodia, this is a different location. They actually try some different things. The Steeler Reward, I know you mentioned they really wanted Adam to do it. It ends up flopping, but at the same time, it ends up driving the bond between him and who was it, Jay? Yeah. So it didn't work. Like it's one where I think if they brought it back, it would need to like be a pre-merge thing, maybe the Steeler Reward, but not Steel Immunity. That's what I was thinking, by the way, if they ever did it again. It needs to be not Steel Immunity, but Steeler Reward. And I don't know if they could bring it back though.
It's funny with all of the stuff they threw in, like the Steeler Award. I agree with you. I think they could bring it back. I mean, Adam doesn't do it, but if you put that in Taylor's hands, Taylor probably is doing that. This is where they introduced the legacy advantage. I mean, there's so many twists in Millennials vs. Gen X. But Millennials vs. Gen X is a breath of fresh air because it is a lot of players who are playing hard and then turn around and shake each other's hand and say goodbye. Now, I know a lot of times I say nowadays, I get annoyed when people get voted out and they're like, oh, it's okay. You're still my best friend in the world. I'm not even mad. I don't like that. These people were mad when they were getting voted out. They wanted to still be in the game, but they also understood it was a game. And I always think about when Jay gets blindsided, Jay gets got and he knows he gets got. And that's just how it is. And he can't help but have the smile on his face. But then you have other people like Taylor. Taylor doesn't have a smile on his face, and this like ruins Jessica's life for a period of time after this. And you know, Chris and Zeke, you talk about Ponderosas. Chris was furious at Zeke at Ponderosa. He gives him the boomer sooner at the end, but at the when they get to Ponderosa, he's pissed at Zeke for what Zeke did.
I also meant to mention this when we were talking about the last season with the jury removal because the open era is coming up. I hope that during the open era, Phil, they bring back the jury removal, but track me here, they change it to a twist to it, a jury addition. What do I mean by that? So at the merge, somebody can win an advantage to add somebody from the pre-jury onto the jury. So like right before they fly them all out or whatever with the pre-jury, like at the merge, somebody wins immunity, also wins that. I don't know if that's like too much, but I think that would be a cool addition. It also puts it puts a target on that person's back in a way like, well, we know they have a jury vote, right? Because they added a jury member. I don't know. So I'm not sure if that's like I don't know. I think it's an idea. I don't know if it's a fantastic idea.
Can you do it in secret?
So I don't know. But if it's in secret, the jury member shows up though.
Yeah.
So the jury member has to be on the jury. So it's like it could be in secret, the person who picks it. I think it's a good idea. I think Survivor's problem with their stuff is they want to take stuff away from people. And to encourage aggressive gameplay, you want to give people things.
Yeah.
That's the problem with the Steeler Reward or whatever that Adam has is because it's taking something away from somebody. Had Adam's reward or thing that he found at the water well or whatever it was, tree mail, wherever he found it, then you also get to go on a reward. Like had that been, he would have used it. He wouldn't have given it to Jay. He would have used it. He would have held on to it till the family challenge or whatever, and he would have put himself in the family challenge. And while that would not have had the same impact, Survivor didn't know that's where this was going. They lucked out into that happening the way it did. The design-wise, I think adding yourself to a reward that you were not supposed to be on is more likely to be played than stealing something.
Well, And you know what it is too? It's like this one's also dumb because so many rewards are okay. Now pick people to go with you. So Jay ends up using the Steeler Award. He
And
uses
then
it
just take
on David.
David with him anyways.
And he picks David, and then he picks Adam
Yeah.
because Adam's the one who gave him the Stiller Award. So like it's a very easy mechanism to break. If it was all individual rewards, it would be different, but it's not. He gets to pick people, and he knows he's going to get to pick people, so he just picks the people that make the most sense, and nobody can be mad at him.
He just guarantees he goes on it. That's what I'm saying. I think adding yourself to a reward would be a good. It wouldn't be too much. It'd be very easy to keep track of for the audience as just like a thing. But I think adding a juror, I think there's something there. I don't know if I fully developed the idea.
I like that though. I think that's a fun idea.
That's the thing with Survivor. When you give people power, they want to play more aggressive. But when you're like threatening to take stuff away, like their vote, well, shoot, I don't want to do this now. I don't want to do this. But you're going to threaten to take stuff away from me. So, yeah, that's one thing I think the card game surprisingly gets right that Jeff designed with Exploding Kittens. Like, they don't take stuff away from you. They just give you stuff. It's like, yeah, because that encourages you to play harder. So, anyways, Adam, very touching story here coming on to the season with his mom having, what was it, stage 4 cancer at this point?
Yeah.
Crazy, man. Insane. And rewatching it and hearing how he sees his mom for 1 hour before she passes getting back from Survivor. It's like, holy crap. And like, as he says, like he knows, he gets that this is a TV show, but like this is real life. And it's like, shoot, man, that hits me harder than Jeremy having a son. Jeremy having a son is cool. Adam losing his mom an hour after getting home and not knowing for sure whether she heard him about him winning Survivor is just like, even now, like I get goosebumps just remembering it.
Well, because it almost feels scripted, but like, you know, and like he said, and like you just said,
so clearly not.
It is his real life. Like this is Adam's life. And you know, this is a conversation we just did. We just finished out Millennials vs. Gen X. Our last episode for Every Season Matter comes out on Monday. And we were talking about the legacy of the season and, you know, Adam's winner satisfaction and all of that. And obviously we're very satisfied. He was a fan of our podcast before he went on Survivor, which was awesome. I mean, we had given him a buff. And so we were really pumped when he won. But, you know, when you're watching this season, it's like, could you do what Adam did? Would you have gone and played the game?
No, I wouldn't have. I know I wouldn't have.
Exactly. And I feel like that's how a lot of people feel. And then there's some people who feel so strongly that way that they actually think Adam's like a bad person for going and doing this. And they almost hold it against Adam. And I feel like every family is different. And I feel like my mom, if I would have gotten the call for that, she would have said, go do it. I really do. I feel like she would say, go do it, because that's, you know, it means a lot to my family too. And I understand this. And I understand that still ultimately Adam has to make this decision, but this is the decision that him and his family all made. And I know some people try to be like, oh, well, he was selfish in this. He was this. I don't think so. Like, I think that people just stop understanding nuance and they say, well, I would never do this, so therefore he is a bad person for doing this. And it's like, to me, I think you're a bad person for assuming he's a bad person. Like, that's where I start going with this stuff. And everybody can have their own opinion. I just think that people so wrongly said that Adam's win was because his mom died. And that is just incredible. He beats Hannah 10-0 every time, guys.
No. You know, it definitely wasn't. It helped him. It helped him with Jay, but I don't think it definitely didn't get him a clean. He didn't clean sweep the jury because of his mom having stage 4 cancer. I gotta say though, like, okay, so I said I wouldn't go, but like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, my family told me it'd be okay, I would do it. I don't know how I'd be emotionally doing it, but I would do it if they said that. And he said it multiple times during the season, like, I'm doing this so my family has something to look forward to. And it makes you wonder, like, did his mom? She passed away an hour after he gets back, right? Would she have passed away sooner had he just stayed home? Because she clearly was looking forward to seeing her son again. That's why she was fighting and like and living longer is what it seems. I was not there. I'm just going by what I saw on the show and at the reunion. It seems like his mom was fighting so she could see her son again versus had he just stayed behind. She'd have been like, well, my son didn't go on Survivor because of me. You know, how would that make you feel as a parent?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost like I can't say Adam was selfish. I can't say that.
No.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I know, I feel like it's really compelling, and it's the question. And I just hated how that circled. And this was around the time where the internet was really starting to pick up, and people just started getting so freaking nasty. Reddit. This is when Reddit was like, I know Reddit is what Reddit is now, but at this time, Reddit was like a cesspool. The way they were talking about Adam, it was so disgusting, and it was really, really sad. But you know, I've interviewed pretty much half this cast: Chris, Jessica, Will, Sunday. I haven't interviewed David, but like I talk to David quite, I
Speaking of
actually
cancer,
saw David
Sunday
not too long ago.
Sunday passed away from cancer. Yeah.
His Sunday passed away from cancer, but I
Yeah.
talked, we interviewed Sunday a lot, obviously talked to Adam a lot, Brett. They all say, if you sit next to Hannah and Ken, you win 10-0. It was over. And people tried to make it seem like Hannah had a chance, and Adam with the mom thing is what happened. Hannah had no chance. Hannah was a 0 vote or 1 vote finalist every time at this final tribal council. Nobody respected her game. Her move on David was a bad move. It was a bad move at Final 5. That's just a fact. And people were not respecting it no matter how she tried to pitch it. And so Adam was always going to win. And if Brett sits there, Brett wins 10-0. And if David sits there, he wins 10-0. And if Jay sits there, he wins 10-0. The only one who probably doesn't win 10-0 is Will Wall, because some people said they weren't going to vote for an 18-year-old to win $1 million.
Who hadn't graduated high school yet.
Exactly. But I do feel like, that's like the dark cloud that kind of happens here. But Adam's game
Does he beat David? Does he beat David?
No, he loses to David.
He loses to David. Okay.
Yeah. He loses to Jay too.
Really? Well, Jay,
so.
Yeah, Jay went at the right time, but David obviously was the one being propped up as the person to beat to win. Mm-hmm. And you're right, when Hannah made that move and that final tribal, that's the argument. She's like, well, I got to make the decision. And look how it turned out. It's like, Adam's like, yeah, but you made the wrong decision.
Yeah.
It worked out, but you made the wrong decision, Hannah. And that was the argument at final tribal. It's like Hannah argued her case really well at final tribal. It's just that her decisions prior to final tribal didn't tank that. Had she been arguing good decisions she made, I think Hannah had a better shot. But when she made a couple of clearly bad decisions that annoyed the crap out of Brett, as you saw, Brett was so annoyed. He's like, what are we doing here? What are you morons doing?
I could argue with you anything. If you're, I don't know, you're what, Kansas City. So if you're a Chiefs fan, right? I could argue with you all day that the Broncos, their Super Bowl winning team, is the best Super Bowl winning team of all time. But if you hate the Broncos, you hate the Broncos. It doesn't matter. You're going to never hear my argument. And that's essentially how this was. Hannah makes a solid argument for why she made the move. However, everybody thought it was a stupid move.
Yeah.
So nobody
didn't matter how well they argued because it was dumb.
Yeah. If they all disrespect it, nobody cares. And so what I will say, and it's not really one move, but in my opinion, Adam's best move is getting to the end game. And it was purposeful with Ken, who he was aligned with, who was a really good, strong challenge competitor. Hannah, who he was aligned with, who was more neurotic and wasn't respected by the jury. But then also getting there with 3 people that were always going to be seen as bigger threats than him and didn't have as close of relationships with the others. And that was Jay, Brett, and David. Because David had good relationships, but everybody knew David could win. So Adam assumed, hey, we got to get rid of David. Everybody knew that Jay could win. You got to get rid of Jay. And then Brett just simply didn't have as strong of relationships with Hannah or with Ken where they were ever going to pick Brett over Adam. Getting that far, and that was a purposeful decision. Yes, things go south when Jessica gets rock drawed out. The 4 people on the wrong side of that rock draw are the final 4 of this season because they had good relationships still with other people.
Yeah, that rock draw, like Tyson, it's not as risky as Tyson's because Tyson was one of 4 options.
3. Yeah.
Rock draw here could have knocked Adam out. He was not safe. Definitely good. It's not the worst move though. It wasn't the worst move, but it was definitely a risky move. That rock draw that Jessica goes on because he could have flipped. He could have voted off somebody else. I forgot which side of the fence he was on with that one. Do you remember?
Say that one more time. Sorry, I'm distracted by this comment.
With the rock draw, which side of the fence was Adam on? Was he voting off Hannah?
He was voting off Zeke.
He was voting off Zeke. Okay.
Yeah, so it was Zeke, Hannah, David, Ken, and Jessica all go against Zeke. They end up losing Jessica, and then they end up being the final 4 because everything implodes after that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the votes here. Yeah, you're right. He votes for Zeke. Okay.
I got to throw this up. Tyler Altman. I don't know about that, Phil. So I love my teams, but I don't hate rivals. So I'm a Lions fan. But if we are out and Green Bay goes to Super Bowl, I want them to win because they are near us. I am a diehard Lions fan. The Packers can go F themselves very nicely. If the Packers go 0-17 every year and every player on their team gets hurt, it's a great year.
Time for the plot twist of the podcast, Phil. Time for the plot twist of the podcast, the whole series. I am an owner of the Packers.
Everybody is, man. Everybody is. Do you put that on your
I'm being
LinkedIn?
legit, Phil. I know it doesn't mean it was $200, but that is my football team, the Packers. So
Okay.
just it's so funny that you're like,
Dude, Jordan Love, I hope they keep on extending and extending and
oh,
extending.
Jordan Love.
They will be
Yeah,
a great. They're
he's
going to sneak into the playoffs as the 7th seed every year, and they're going to get ousted before like my
Yeah.
favorite thing about the Packers right now is that because they've made the playoffs however many years in a row, everybody's like, Jordan Love is good. Jordan Love is good. They're
he's
making it
okay.
as the 7 seed. That didn't exist 5 years ago.
Jordan Love is mid, and I almost wish they had tried Malik Willis over him.
Yeah.
Like long term. I wish they had, but they already committed too much money to Jordan Love. For those not caring about football, don't worry. We're going back to Adam here.
We're going to do it in a second. Hang on.
So I agree with you. Jordan Love's overrated and overpaid. I'm with you.
And you know what else? I hope the Bears keep Caleb Williams because he just had the easiest schedule of all time and did fine. And this year they're going to have a harder schedule, and I think they are going to stink. And I think Caleb Williams is going to just a lot of those passes he just chucks up into the sky are going to get intercepted this time around.
The Bears are going to get exposed. I agree. Anyways, back to Adam Klein before we lose everybody. Adam Klein, where do you think he ranks amongst all 50 winners?
36.
Okay, 36. He's 33, actually. The same number as the season, 33. You were close, though. The season itself is higher. Where do you think it ranks?
21.
Close again, 20.
Okay.
So Adam is right below Jam, right above Kenzie. I actually like Adam more than both those winners, but then that puts him right below Mike Holloway on rankings, and I like Mike Holloway more. But I do like Adam.
For me, I'd say Adam is a top half winner, and I try to take my bias out. Like if you were to ask me out of all the winners who are my favorites, it's Adam and it's Wendell. Like those are the two guys that I talk to. I talk to them both a lot. Like those are two guys that I really respect, that they've shown me nothing but like respect from their whole time playing and everything like that. Those are my two people. Okay. Like that's just where it goes.
Just personal vibe. Sure.
But when I'm trying to take my bias out of it and I just look at Adam's game, the rock draw at 10, I don't like that. I think that that's a silly move. He's on the wrong side of the Mari vote right at the beginning. It definitely benefits him that tribe is able to win the next 2 tribal council or the next community challenges. Who knows? Not having an understanding of what Hannah was truly all about, getting that far with her is a problem. Like he gets to final 5 and he knows voting out David is the right move, but he doesn't realize that like other people are going to have their own agendas, even if their own agenda is a horrible one. And he just kind of took for granted that Hannah would see things the same way as him. The whole Taylor situation is so messy and weird and whatever. So you could argue.
What do you think about that? So he picks Figgy. He votes off Figgy over Ken. Do you think that was the right move?
Oh,
or the
100% the right move.
Yeah. The showman is going to be strong.
And you forget, Adam was one of 3 people to vote, not you, but people in general. Adam was one of 3 people to vote for Figgy at the first tribal council. Figgy and Taylor were holding that over Adam's head. They don't show that as much in the edit, but they were holding that over his head. And Adam knows that next tribal, if they go 2 more times, he's done. And they're never going to team up with him. And he already doesn't feel good with Jen. He already doesn't feel good with Will. He's screwed. He doesn't need them.
No, he made the right decision. He did get the ire of Taylor after that. Taylor eats his way out of the game now. Taylor and Figgy need to be broken up for sure. It's so I'm sure you already know this. I did not realize this till I watched Adam's season again a few months ago, made his video on his winning season about Figgy and Taylor and their relationship, because the show props them up. Ponderosa props them up even more. And then afterwards, Taylor already had somebody else pregnant, I guess, is what I gathered. And so they broke up clearly because Taylor, and then he ends up getting married to that lady, and they have 3 kids, and I don't know any of their names. But it's so crazy to me because rewatching this, it's like hard to rewatch knowing that his future wife's already pregnant. But I'm watching him like lust over Figgy, and then Ponderosa's like, "Oh, what a sweet Boston Rob Amber love story." And it's like, no, it's not.
Dude, I find
they really gloss over it at the reunion. They gloss.
Yeah, they say, "Oh, aren't we happy?" Yeah, no, it's really exciting. I know. I was telling my wife
going to be a father, and they don't address it at all.
I was telling my wife about that, and I was like, "You're never gonna believe like what actually happens with this story, but I can't tell you until it happens." And so once he went out, I told her, and then she was like so excited for the reunion. And at the reunion, they're just like, "No, we don't talk anymore." And then Taylor's like, "Yeah, I have a kid," and it's like, and then they just go away from him. Like, no, go back.
It just gets so much worse when you watch Ponderosa and you see how much they prop up this relationship in the Ponderosa videos. And it's just like I don't know. It's so weird to watch knowing that this is nothing. It's almost as if it's not the same. It's almost as if Dee and Austin had Ponderosa videos propping up their relationship, knowing they weren't going to be together. It's not the same though, clearly, because nobody got married and had kids afterwards, as far as I know.
And I want to throw this comment up. Daryl Seymour says, "Not doing the rock draw, give him a less chance of winning if he gets to the end." I kind of agree with that, from Daryl there. I just think at final 10 going to rocks just feels so unnecessary. It's final 10. There's so much game left to be played. I don't think you need to go to rocks at 10 ever. That's just
it was a lot of risk on over who? Over who is he protecting? Because he ends up voting him off, right? Like he's protecting Zeke, right? Doesn't Zeke
he's protecting Hannah.
He's voting off Zeke, right? He protects Hannah. Okay. Sorry, I thought he was protecting Zeke. I had to go back and relook real quick. Because Zeke goes.
But like he said, he knows that he has a better chance of beating all of the people that he's going to rocks with than the other side, which is fair. But I mean, that whole game implodes after that anyway. Zeke ends up going home with 5 votes because Will flips.
And Hannah played her idol, but it wouldn't matter because Zeke was going. Hannah misplayed the idol. It's part of why people are like, not as impressive.
Yeah, Hannah was never in control of anything.
No. How many votes off from a perfect game was Adam? Because he clean sweeps the jury like Jeremy did.
But he gets like 8 or 9 votes during the season, doesn't he?
He gets 6 votes. And those, I'm trying to look at when he got votes.
I know he gets one of the David tribal at the end.
David throws one on him. Who else threw votes on Adam?
I think it's at the Michelle.
Oh, the Michelle vote is the other ones. Yeah, Michelle vote people throw. Michelle has a crazy, and this is some people aren't going to think this is crazy. Michelle has a secret scene I wish they left in the show where she talks about how Marco Polo saw dragons in real life, and she's like, therefore there were dragons like a few hundred years ago. And I'm like, why was this not in the show?
That's why she wears the dragon at the end.
It gives so much like context for Michelle, and it's like, why don't people trust Michelle at the merge? Because just yesterday they heard her talking about dragons existing like 200, 300 years ago or whatever. And it's like, whether you agree with her or not, like it gives so much context to her vote off that I think they should have left it in the show.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's such a crazy secret. It's one of the craziest secret scenes I've watched. I'm like, what? Why was this not in the show? I hate when I watch a scene. I'm like, this should have been in the show.
Because not even episodes. I think they forgot Michelle was on the season. That was the problem.
Oh yeah. Okay, so Adam, I think a very emotionally satisfying winner. Messy game though, definitely could have been voted off a few times. Had to fight, but the story, really, him fighting for his mom, I really felt that. And again, it felt like Jeremy was like, this is a natural inclusion in the story. It wasn't forced sob stories that they had to drag out of people. You know, it's not Xander and 41 talking about how he used to be fat in middle school and now he's not. The best sob story of all time, Phil. I don't know if you knew that one.
I do remember that. It's great. And if you see Xander now, Xander is still very jacked, guys.
But he was a little pudgy in middle school. So tears are streaming down my face as they force the sob story out of Xander. Yeah. So anyways, a good season. Definitely worth rewatching, everybody. Even though it's set in Fiji and even though they have less challenge locations than they do now, it's a good season. You will recognize some of the challenge locations, but like one of them now, Phil, in the new era is like not overgrown, but like really tall trees. But in this season, half of the challenge location, the trees are like almost non-existent. It's like, did they plant trees? What happened? I'm serious. Like I can pinpoint exactly where it's at. I was there in real life. I'm like, wow, this challenge location is like a square with really tall trees. But then you watch 33 and 34, you're like, this almost doesn't look like the same location because like the trees haven't grown in yet. Makes me wonder if they planted trees or not. I have no idea. You know, I don't think they're doing landscaping.
I don't think they're out there planting trees.
Yeah, but I don't think they're out there doing landscaping either. So like, I don't know. Where were the trees before? Why did they all of a sudden grow? I mean, this is not my area of expertise. I'm here to talk about Survivor, but just saying.
It rained a lot. Who knows?
Shoot, dude. It's seeing the island change over the years is one of the things that you won't notice from the show. But if you pause and look at challenge locations, you'll notice it. Yeah, the island changing from them being there. So
now we need like a still from the first immunity challenge of 33 to like the last one of 50 to see what it looks like.
Yeah, the challenge. Well, they now have way more challenge locations in 50 than they do in 33. Like there's so many now. But in 33 they only had like a handful. Also, we got to mention this is the last season with a normal final tribal council.
Yep, and then Zeke ruins it.
Is that what happened?
I mean, it's not that Zeke ruins it, but it's essentially Zeke does all the talking in 34 and like won't let anybody else talk. And that's what always drove me nuts. I felt like Zeke was way too much of an advocate. I'm like, wait, I want to hear from everybody else. So here's the thing is when you watch these final tribals, like they change it with game changers and it becomes, they try to make it more rigid, but everyone has to sit down. And clearly this so they can cut people out. Obviously, like, I don't know. I don't care how they pitch it. It's so that they can choose who they show and Survivor's all about control. They don't want to show every juror
so they don't have to show every juror now. But now we're in 50 and like 48, 49. We're almost back to normal where it's everyone gets asked a question, but they're sitting down now, so they can still choose who to cut and who not to cut.
Mm-hmm.
It's that we've come full circle. We're back to where we were at 33. Just people are sitting down instead of standing up,
which I like.
But for a time, starting with Sarah Lucina's season, no, let's do the outwit portion. Let's do the outplay portion. Let's do what? What is this?
And I like that we got it for 50. And I know people were giving Stephanie a hard time. Is there a question in this? Like, it's like Stephanie's allowed to say whatever the hell she wants. Stephanie made it this far in the game. She's allowed to sit here and make a speech if she wants to, because then Sari turns around and speaks for everybody, and Tiffany's cutting everybody off. Like, Stephanie's allowed to say whatever she wants. She doesn't have to get to the question just because you all want it. I feel like there was so much entitlement on that jury. It was insane.
I'm not a Stephanie fan, but I do agree that Stephanie's allowed just to make a statement. But she did say she was going to ask a question, and then she didn't ask a
But it's like everybody else has these things, and then Sari is so unbelievably mean to Joe for no reason. It's like, okay, like, just bury the guy for no reason. Jesus.
Anyways, we're here to talk about game changers now.
Game changers. Sarah Lucina.
Game changers. Sarah Lucina. She's coming back to play like instead of playing like a cop, she's playing like a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
That's her game plan, is to be Tony, to be the Sarah version of Tony. Though, should we call her Lucina because she asked for that, or is that there's a war?
It doesn't happen until Winners at War, so no, she's Sarah still.
Okay, she's Sarah here, but in Winners at War, she's Lucina.
Although Brad is Culpepper, which makes no sense. I'm like, come on, it's Brad.
Yeah. Well, this season, man, they only half this cast is where they should have done fans versus favorites.
You know what they should have done, and this is my argument. I think, I don't remember if I said this on this podcast or if I said it on another one. This is the version of All Stars they need to do next. They need to just do a hodgepodge. You can have winners, you can have non-winners, you can have pre-mergers. Doesn't matter. You can have anybody, and I like that. The problem with this season was calling it game changers and having so many people that were so much more worthwhile. Like, I'm sorry, but Sierra Dawn Thomas getting on this season.
It's not
Haley, who I actually quite like, getting on this season. It's like, what was the point? And then you're having JT and Tony and Sandra lumped in there. And then you have Michele, who goes out pre-merge, which Michaela's great TV, so I get it. But this was such an all over the place cast. But actually, what drives this season down is this is the first season that is full-blown production interference from day 1 to day 39. I hate this season. Go ahead.
Phil, can we talk a little bit about the people that they offered some people and they declined, but there's some people they offered but they cut. And I want to hear from you whether these were game changers. Like, should they replace the non-game changers? Okay. Because I'm with you. I think half the cast is game changers, the other half is not, including some of the names you said. So here you go. Jonathan Penner, game changer?
Yes.
Natalie Bolton.
Yes.
Marty Piombo.
Yes.
I'm okay with them not picking him, but I would have preferred him over.
He's more of a game changer than all the other people.
Than half the cast. Sophie Clark is a winner, of course.
Yeah, she could be on there for sure.
John Cody.
He's not a game changer, but I would have watched John Cody play again.
Alexis Maxwell from Cagayan.
No.
LJ from Cagayan.
No. But I would have watched both of them play again, but no.
John Mish.
Yes, actually.
I almost for a second I got mixed up. I thought John Cody was John Mish. No, that's wrong. It's Candace's husband. Josh Canfield.
I think he's not a game changer, but he should have been on an all-star season. He should have been on Game Changers.
Carolyn, Mama C.
No, she's not a game changer.
Mike Holloway.
I would have watched him play again.
Yeah. No, I think.
And I would have watched Mama C too.
Penner, Bolton, Marty, Sophie Clark, and Mike Holloway. 5 people out of those I'm like guaranteed should have. Also, Mike called his shot before. I think before or after World's Party said, I'm going to win this game 3 times. I want to see him at least get the 3 times of play. They haven't given him a second shot yet. He could have been right, but they just won't give him a second shot.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, and then Ethan was asked for this season as well.
He declined. It says he declined, so that's a little different. I can't knock Survivor for asking people and then them saying no. Earl Cole was supposed to be on, but he dropped out due to injury. I can't knock Survivor for that. I can knock them for cutting people who are actual game changers, though, like Mike Holloway, like Jonathan Penner, like Natalie Bolton, like Sophie Clark. Like, if you offered winners and you then cut them, why? You only have 3 on this season.
Yeah. Why? This cast is a mess. I don't mind it. Again, it's not the cast that bothers me. It's like the Malcolm Boot situation is so short-sighted. The Sari moment on the balance beam. We just watched that episode last night.
Oh,
like
such a forced moment.
Worst, honestly, like that is a top 5 worst moments in the history of Survivor for me. Truly.
And that is the seeds for the new era.
Yes.
Everything's planted in advance. That's your seeds for the new era.
What is this middle school bullshit that we're doing? Like, give me a break. Sari is considered the greatest of all time to never win. And we're like
a child.
Yay, Sari. Yeah. It's so impressive. Your kids are going to be so proud. Man, it's just nonsense. And also, like, the favoritism there, you're not doing that for anybody else. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I hate what the show becomes. I hate the forced moments. It was no longer about just like the players and everything. Production is so over the top this whole season, whether it's making 2 tribes go to tribal council as one, or doing this moment with Sari, or having these random twists and advantages in the game. Production just can't keep their finger out of it. And I despise season.
So I like the 2 tribes going to tribal as one. I just think it was the wrong time of the season for it, personally.
Well, you do it right after there's only been 1 vote. I think the other problem is, though.
No, I think you do it at the very beginning, Phil. I think this is a first tribal council.
Agreed.
And that's when you do it. The very first tribal council, everybody votes. Everybody goes to tribal, all the tribes, every player, almost like a merge vote, but it's the very first one.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time to do it, and it's fair because everyone is equal numbers. So either people say tribe strong or they go with their pregame alliances, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, I think that's the only time you can do this. But I think it was just mistimed. It's a cool idea.
And I remember saying on the podcast that it was a very short-sighted twist, that they were doing it to get like the 1 episode of greatness, and then like they weren't thinking about the future repercussions. We lose Malcolm,
like
JT,
words of Thailand.
Yeah, Malcolm, JT, Sandra. Those are the 3 boots in a row, and then Varner goes out in the way he goes out, and we end up with like a final 8 or final 9. Where really the only person that everybody, and I mean everybody, was truly excited to see was probably Sari and Aubrey, and Aubrey at this point had kind of fallen off.
And Ozzy.
No, well, I'm talking about you get down to final 11.
Oh, okay.
You have Debbie, Zeke, Sierra, Andrea, Michaela, Sari, Aubrey. Yeah. Troyzan, Ty, and I love Troyzan. Like, I will go to bat for Troyzan all the time. I like Brad Culpepper too. I think Brad Culpepper is a very underrated character. Sarah was my preseason winner pick for Cagayan, and I picked her again as a winner for this season. I just think, like, you get to final 11 and you're like, wow, there's 2 people that we were all unanimously excited to see. And it all does stem from production overdoing it and making it so that somebody like Malcolm couldn't just hide. Not his tribe is voting him off.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Survivor's all about, we got to make the tribe smaller so people can't hide, but it just creates the same 3 situations over and over again now. But yes, Game Changers is the seeds for a lot of the new era. It's the seeds for the rest of the 30s as well. But this is really where the Cambodia is a shift, but to me, it doesn't project the new era. This projects the new era.
Agreed.
This projects where we were going. And nobody liked this. And the fact that Advantage Geddon happens with Sari, and to this day, Jeff still defends Advantage Geddon as some watershed moment that was good, is just like, that's out of touch. Do you read the room, Jeff? Nobody liked Advantage Geddon.
Yeah.
Like, people on the street tell me, yeah, because to your face, people don't want to be mean to you. Obviously, that's just human nature.
Yeah.
Duh.
I know. I'm not going to go insult Jeff to his face. No,
if someone did insult Jeff to his face, they just get fired. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Jeff he just would fire you and ignore you.
This season is very similar to 41 for me, where I'm lower on the season than a lot of other people are, because a lot of other people see the positives of the season. I mean, the gameplay, Sarah's gameplay, which we're going to be talking about, hopefully, is really good. It's really good in the post-merge. But for me, I can't get over the fact that this season has all of the seeds for all the things that I despise about what Survivor became. And it's like 41. 41 isn't Survivor. So I can't rank it higher than the worst season of all time, because it literally ruins the show. It is going against everything Survivor is about. That's how I feel about Redemption Island, but Redemption Island is actually also a shit season. Unanimously, everybody knows that. And then the thing, though, with this season is, like, for all the good gameplay that's in there, I can't get over the fact that this epic Debbie blindside that Sarah pulls off, maybe her best move of the season, also takes place in the same episode where we're treating Sari like she's a preschooler. Like, I hate those things, and I hate that that's where the show went. And so I knock Game Changers more than I knock a season like Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, or even Ghost Island, because this is the one that is setting up the trajectory for Survivor. And I hate that this is the trajectory the show went on, because it's just, I mean, the show is never the same again. Millennials vs. Gen X is truly the last great season, and David vs. Goliath is probably better. But the thing with David vs. Goliath is a lot of it is good because the team that you're rooting for is benefiting from all the trinkets. If those trinkets go wrong, you get a terrible season.
Yeah, they that Dave vs. Goliath is very reminiscent is not the right word. Very reflective of the casting that we've been talking about, Phil, with under what's her name again? I'm so sorry.
Lynn Spillman.
Lynn Spillman, thank you. Under Lynn Spillman, where it's okay, well, we're rolling the dice that we're casting our shot in the dark that these people are the ones that are successful and that the other people are cannon fodder. That we're rolling the dice that this happens. And that's why I think a season, this will never happen because this is just fantasy. A season where half the cast is cast by Lynn Spillman, the other half is cast by Jesse Tannenbaum would be perfection. I don't know if I said that idea to you already, but that's, to me, is just like a perfection idea that will never happen. That's just, Survivor is not that kind of competitive. Oh, why would they be? Like, that just can't lead anything good behind the scenes. But it would be fun to watch.
No shot that ever happens.
No shot. Anything. Why would you pit two casting directors against each other? It's just, but it would make a fantastic season because they would both be trying their absolute hardest.
You know what the problem is? This is what the problem is. All of the, I don't know what the proper term is, but like all the casting associates, all the people who are under them are the same people who were the same under Lynn. Like
really?
A lot of the people are the same.
It's just different. It's just different person in charge. That's all.
Yeah, there's like one or two people who are new, but for the most part, like the names that you'll see, they're the same people that you're seeing.
They're just doing the job that they were tasked to do. It's not them.
Exactly.
Right. That's why it's always the casting director and Jeff, because literally in interviews they're like, it's Jeff as well. Game Changers, though, feels a lot like Jeff's thumb is on the cast. Like, these people didn't get on Cambodia, I'm putting them on Game Changers.
Yeah.
That not everybody, though. Not everybody who was on Cambodia. It's just a few people. But it's like a few people, it's like, I don't know. Did we have to bring them back? Like, I needed Brad Culper. I needed Troy Zan. I don't know.
I needed them both.
I know. So you and Jeff would have agreed with each other then.
I voted for Troy Zan nonstop during Second Chance. I wanted Troy Zan, Savage, Terry, Shane, and Varner. Those were the five that I was voting for.
I think Brad lived up to his potential, but Troy Zan did not.
Troy Zan did not. I also think I said this after One World. On a rewatch of One World, I think Troy Zan is much more interesting when his back is against the wall because Troy Zan's a hothead. And Troy Zan likes to fight for himself. And like, I've gotten to know Troy Zan. And like, Troy Zan's not a hothead in the way that like Rodney's a hothead. But Troy Zan's the kind of guy where if his back's against the wall, he fights. This season, his back never really against the wall. So he doesn't have to. He likes Andrew. He's better when his back's to the wall. Yeah. Where people like Boston Rob like to be at the head. So Sarah Lucina, what's her worst move this season? So here's what's fascinating about Sarah. She votes correctly every single time, with the exception of when Suri goes, but that's not her fault. Because no one's fault. Yeah, that's nobody's fault. Nobody votes for Suri. But she goes home, or she votes correctly every single time, except for, and not the Suri one, but also when Haley goes. She votes for Michaela. Oh, okay. It's her, Suri, Andrea, and Zeke voting for Michaela. And that was kind of like Suri. They all knew, because Suri even says, I'm making this vote, but it's better for our game. So they all knew it was just in case Haley was going to vote, if Haley was going to play an idol. So that was really the only thing that this was. So it's hard to say what her worst move is, because she is the one dictating who's going to go home. She's the reason Debbie goes. She's the reason it then flips back onto Zeke at the next tribal council. She's the reason Sierra goes. Like, she is constantly the one. She's the one who does the steal a vote at the Michaela vote. Like, she dupes Suri with the either legacy advantage. I think it's the legacy advantage where she gives it to her. Sierra gives her legacy advantage. Yeah, because Sierra gives it to her and then she gives it to Suri, but Suri can't use it and Suri thinks she can. And so, like, all of her moves are so good. Do you have one that stands out as bad? Bad move. Okay, so I haven't, to be fair, I haven't watched Game Changers fully through in a while. It's been a couple years since I fully watched it through. Unlike Millennials vs. Gen X, which I just watched. I want to say her worst move. Oh, man. Because she was going to with Brad and Troy Zan. It worked out that Suri went, because Suri, Aubrey, Ty voted together. No, wait, no, they didn't. Who voted? They did vote together. And then flipping Brad votes for Aubrey at that one where Suri goes. Yeah. Like,
You know what I mean? Like they were not unified. Like that vote almost fell through. Sarah's lucky Suri went because that was not the way the votes were panning out. It was supposed to be Sarah who went at that vote. Of course, everyone had advantages. Good for them, but no advantages. Sarah goes to that vote. She was right. Like it was risky time, but like I don't think anybody knew about the legacy advantage. Is that what? I don't think Suri had a legacy advantage. Didn't she have something else, or was it?
She gets the legacy advantage.
It was the legacy advantage, yeah.
Because Sierra by the way, gave her the legacy advantage. Brad wins immunity. Troyzan and Ty and Aubrey all play immunity idols.
Yeah, this was a legacy advantage is like a half-baked idea to me. It's very
legacy advantage was not a good. Yeah, it didn't work either.
Yeah, it's very half-baked. It's forces. You're right. It's like production putting the thumb on the scale. Like, okay, well now an idol will be played at the merge or at final 6. An idol has to be played this time. So just half-baked. Just forcing people to do things is not good decisions. And I'm sorry for those who are wanting to hear more Sarah. It's just that this season is it's such a shame. It does overshadow a lot of what could have been good because the boot order and then clear production interference or bias. I don't know if interference, just bad decisions.
Bad decisions, yeah.
Bad decisions because interference applies they stepped in and did something. If they did, I don't think some of the things happen to do.
Yeah, and if you're so like in terms of bad move, I don't know. I rank Sarah very highly. If you're saying though in terms of best move, I think there's actually 3, and I think they're all in a row. Okay. I think it's voting out Debbie right after it was a 6-5 advantage for her side, 6-5 advantage, and then Sarah says, "No, I don't want to do this," because she realizes that the other side is more broken, right? And then she immediately turns around. She doesn't want to vote out Zeke, but she's willing to go along with it. But then it's the next move. It's the one where she gets rid of Sierra. Because when she gets rid of Sierra, it makes it so that Troyzan and Brad have nowhere else to go. And she knows she can beat Troyzan and Brad, right? And she knows she can probably beat Ty, although Ty actually had a better game this season than a lot of people give credit for. And that, I think it was the Sierra moment was, okay, I have now weakened. She plays the most perfect version of going back and forth for 3 straight votes. And people still have no choice but to come back to her because she's so vital to everybody's plan. And that's what sets in motion that she's going to win the game. So I guess the Sierra one's the best one. But realizing getting rid of Debbie at 11 was brilliant, honestly.
And Sarah, I mean, you hear it on Winners of War. She's like, last time when I played, I came out of that season feeling like when she said when she finished Game Changers, I feel like I finished Game Changers like a real jerk. And like, how come women are treated differently than men for doing the same thing? And I think it's what you're saying is that she played kind of a cutthroat villainous game. The show didn't really want to lean into that story too much. Like I know she says at the beginning because they're like laying the foundation for what's going to happen. But I feel like Sarah's almost absent from the story the first half of the season. It's not until the second half where you really see her. And it does hurt her story as a result. And it makes me, I want to connect more with Sarah, but I feel like I can't because I don't know. I mean, Sarah's not super, she doesn't have a ton of charisma to begin with.
No.
So to not give her as much screen time as she needs to really tell her story makes me not like her win as much. And it's not that she didn't earn it because I do think she earns it over Brad and Troyzan. And again, I think anybody loses a Suri. I don't know if you agree with that take. This season, I feel like anybody loses a Suri at the final 3.
I think Suri wins almost based on, she has the story. She has the legend status. She's going to win. I don't know if Suri's game is better. I think Sarah's game is the best one in the season. But I also will say Brad's game is very good and it's pretty underrated. Like Brad knew what he had to do. Brad was just a little bit of a step behind on some of the strategic moments, but Brad starts to really pick it up towards the end, especially when he starts getting his immunity wins and all of that. Troyzan just ends up in a bad spot. Troyzan was trying to play more of a social game. And I've talked to him about this. It seems like Troyzan was more focused on the social and ultimately it's just not what the jury was looking for.
No, I mean, the season is called Game Changers. You got to read the room on the theme and what they're expecting. And no, for a season called Game Changers, and this was filmed right after Aubrey lost to Michele.
Yeah.
Right after. People just saw that happen. People wanted Aubrey to win was the general consensus. And so you're going into the season, expectations are set. I think that's something to consider here is where they do these back-to-back seasons. Like, okay, what just happened before they filmed the season? When you watch 50, 48 just finished airing. Joe just found out about Kyle and Camilla's secret alliance. That affects him. It's so stupid. That's stupid. A secret alliance. Sorry. They could not stop reminding us about it as if I had forgotten. But yeah, Brad, I think Brad was playing a second place game, and the only way for him to win would have been sitting next to Ty and Troyzan. I think he beats Ty and Troyzan.
I think what also hurts Brad is like, he gets kind of nasty to Ty towards the end.
Yeah.
And that definitely hurts him from getting Ty's vote.
Yes.
And it kind of rubs some other people the wrong way. Like, I don't know. It's a very like the women on that jury are going to respect a strong, badass woman. And Sarah plays the game as a strong, badass woman.
Mhm.
And Brad did not pick up on that. That's what the jury was going to do. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great final tribal council, though. Even though I don't like that they changed the format, but like the Brad versus Sarah and even Troyzan just being like, look, I know I'm not going to win, but at this point, like, what the hell, guys? Like, it's a really good final tribal.
Because Brad gets Ozzy, Debbie, and Sierra's votes. Sarah gets, if I'm looking at this right, Sarah gets Haley. She gets Haley. She gets Zeke. She gets Andrew, Michaela, Sari, Aubrey, Ty. So Sarah burns Sierra. Sierra doesn't vote for her, I guess, is what happens there. You know, Sierra gave her legs.
She's way closer with Brad the whole season, too. Like, Brad and Sierra are lockstep the whole time.
Yeah. I will say, though, unlike Cambodia, at least there's not a season bias. Where we saw Cambodia, as you said, the final 5 was all from like the same 2 seasons. Final 8 was like same idea or whatever. But like this season, it's not the same. So I will give the season that credit. It's not just all Cagayan or all, whatever. It's like this is a variety of seasons, This isn't just the same 1 or 2. But yeah, I don't know. This season is just it's a mess to watch. They rush through things. The whole premiere, it ends up being worthless because they switch tribes in episode 2, which just feels so too fast. Like just no time to develop with these people. And of course,
they switch tribes to vote out one person and then do the double tribal council. And it's like,
right. Why didn't we do the double tribal council in episode 2 and then do a tribe switch? Again, just mistimed ideas. Sarah plays a strong game. I don't think the show knows how to tell a story or wants to tell her story. And I think this is we talked about this the entire time. It's like when it comes to the woman winner, it's like we're never as impressed with the story, and it's not the gameplay. The gameplay usually is there when a woman wins the show. It's just that the story's not interested or doesn't know what to do with, and I don't know which one it is half the time.
I think on this one, though, I do think Sarah's story is told really well in the post-merge, but it doesn't happen until like episode 8, which you're over halfway through the season before you really start to hear her story. But then it starts to pick up, and then I understand her story.
Yeah, it's almost like Erica in 41, where she literally like, who's Erica? And then episode 10, Shan's getting voted off. Oh, Erica, yeah, the hourglass lady. Oh, well, I'm supposed to care about her? That's how it feels about Sarah here as well. Yeah. Like, I'm supposed to care about Sarah? I didn't know that. I only got there's less than half the season left. I got to catch up on that because this season only has 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because they do 3 double boots, I think.
This season's like a rush job, man. I think Gabon 2 only has like 12 episodes or something like that. I forget. I just remember this season, like, why are they in such a rush? Don't they want to like make this season last longer? No, they didn't, because they knew the season sucked.
But I think what's interesting about this one, and I don't know if episode 11 is 2 hours, but at least two of the 3 double boot episodes are 2 hours long. So that's also pretty interesting.
Like, because Sierra and Tony got in the same episode, Haley and Ozzy got in the same episode, and then Andrea and Michele got in the same episode, and then the final 6 are all in one episode.
Yeah.
I thought for sure, by the way, 50 was going to do the 47 thing of having a 2-part finale. They didn't do it.
Or at least have a final 6, so there was some drama around could Sari actually pull this off?
Or have a final 7 because it was 24 people. Why not? And then Devins and Sari both would have been there, right?
And we have a lot of excitement going in instead of that season just like fizzling.
Going into the finale, there would have been a lot more debate around who wins, and like, there would have been more excitement going into the finale. I don't know. I don't even know. Like, that's just how it played out.
So where do you guys have? We have to do Sarah's ranking. Yeah. This is what happens when you have Michele and Adam on the same podcast. We end up talking for way longer than 2 hours. So we got to get on the bend. So where does Sarah rank?
Yeah, Sarah. I just wish I cared more about Sarah because I do respect her game. Sarah as a character, I'm whatever. Where do you think she falls in the ranks?
17.
27th.
That's way lower than I thought. She's way higher in ours.
Right below Vesepia, right above Marianne.
Okay, yeah, she's a lot higher in ours.
I like Marianne more personally. Where do you think Game Changers of the season is ranked?
It should be 47, but it's probably like 35.
You're closer on your second guess. It's 36th.
Okay.
Right below 42, right above Caramoan.
Oh, Caramoan's so much better than Game Changers.
I agree. Caramoan's a better season than Game Changers. Yes, agreed. No doubt about it. 42 though, I'm like, fine, yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah, whatever.
But Caramone's better than Game Changers. I'm so done with Game Changers. Every time I have to rewatch it for anything, I'm like, ugh, do I have to?
And then how far? Then I guess just how far away? She doesn't get 3 votes and she negates votes.
Yeah, good question. She's 6 votes off a perfect game because Brad gets 3 at the end. But yes, the 3 votes she gets against herself, kind of like Jeremy, she negates them with an idol. But unlike Jeremy, doesn't clean sweep the jury. So you can't sit here and be like, well, with an asterisk perfect game, she didn't.
She didn't.
Brad still got 3 votes. And this is in the comments, but this is the last season to have a normal Final Four vote out before they do their surprise Final Four fire making.
It's funny because we've talked for a long time about everybody, and now we're going to get to Ben. And I just truly feel like when we talk about like Ben's game, it's going to be such a shorter conversation.
Ben's a less interesting Mike Holloway. That's
because of the Final Four fire making forced, because of all the idols that are being found. It's not an immunity run. It's finding trinkets and it's near where Ben tends to sleep at night. Goes and gets it. Yeah. And I like Ben. I really do. Like, I found myself rooting for Ben because I was never really a huge Chrissy fan. I wasn't really big into Devin. I thought he was a little boring. Ryan, I liked Ryan, but you could tell the writing was on the wall that he wasn't going to win. I also felt like Mike, I never really connected with Dr. Mike. So on that season, I'm rooting for Ben to win as it gets down towards the end.
Are we moving on to HVHVH?
Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is because you said the Final Four fire making. It's like you get to this Final Four fire making, and it feels like it ruins what could have been. Like, if he survives that, it's like, oh, that's so much better. So, like, with Sarah, with them having the normal vote out at Final Four, it's not like you lose a major contender on Game Changers.
Ty was not going, even if Ty wins a fire, he wasn't going to win the season, so it doesn't change the result.
And it's not like 32, like Sydney gets in and she wins. Like, you have fire making anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and then the only thing that could have changed with fire making is 33, I guess. If we're thinking about seasons they might have done it during. Maybe David, but David, he was only good at puzzles. David is only good at puzzles. Who's he beating in fire? Right. Hannah? Ken? He's not beating Ken. He's not being, I think Adam and Hannah beat him. So,
well, and I think it is probably Adam versus David in fire because I think Ken takes Hannah, and I think Adam beats David, and Adam wins the season.
Yeah. I David would have been a hard one to win a fire. So it really does feel like the season they introduced is the season where it also made a difference because, I mean, we're on it already, Phil. Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. What a terrible name, but and also this is a season where they rushed the premiere. I don't like this. I know this is another season. This is the one that stands out to me. The premiere is like 43 minutes without commercials, and it's just like, I think all premieres should be an hour and a half. All premieres.
I think Katrina gets one confessional.
Yeah, this is just like, it's when they have to rush the first episode, you can tell. And it's how I feel about Vanuatu. Vanuatu wish had been an hour and a half because they clearly had planned for more time. This season, nothing was planned for more time. It's a premiere, and I feel like our premiere should get an hour and a half to 2 hours every season, no matter what. And thankfully now that's the case, of course. But yeah, back then it was like what are we rushing for? What is happening after this that we're in such a rush? The streaming had taken over at this point. This is 2017. This is not the streaming was around. Streaming was the thing. What are we in such a rush for?
Anyways, I don't get it at all.
The start of the season is rushed, and I think it doesn't help the season overall. A strong premiere can do a lot to set the foundation for where we're going. And the season, I feel like, rushes the foundation, and you feel it.
Yeah. No, and Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers, to me, like, this season gets really hated on. I actually like this season a little bit. I think that the cast is kind of funny. It's just, I understand why people get frustrated at the end. I do feel like Ben is a satisfying winner. I remember saying at the time that the Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers finale is one of the best finales in the show's history. And I still believe that episode has so much going on. Ben playing the first idol, the 2-1 vote that Devin pulls off, or whatever it is. Cause that's what happened. Yeah, Devin throws the vote at Mike. I think that, the Final Four fire making is good. And I think it's a really good Final Three and an exciting Final Tribal Council. So for me, like, I really like this finale, and I think that this season is good. The problem with Ben's game is it's like he goes to one tribal in the pre-merge. Then the post-merge happens. He votes correctly the first 3 times, and then everything starts to go south for him. But they let him play double agent. And so while he has all that stuff, you know, he plays 2 idols and wins 2 immunities in like the final 4 episodes or something like that, and then has fire. While he has all that stuff, they also gave him, he doesn't actually win any immunities. They gave him ammunition.
He's the opposite of Mike Holloway.
Yeah, they gave him
And yet
ammunition
similar.
by letting him kind of like go and play double agent stuff. It's weird. I don't know. Like that's his best move is playing double agent because he gets to make everybody happy.
I know Ben came out of the season thinking that he had just made enemies. Because you see it on Winners of War. He's like, I want to make friends this time. And it's like, oh, what are we doing? Ben, you should have come back for Winners of War, dude. They should have replaced you with Mike Holloway. They didn't know. Jeff Love, Ben Dreberg, and they did a whole like montage for him at the finale. It felt like extra, like more than they usually do. He clearly loved the Ben win. And I like the Ben win. I was very excited by this. Him playing idols, Ben bombing, everything. It's fun. It's fun. You know, and if people are going to come out of the season and be like, I don't like you, Ben, because of how you played, like, well, they're not real fans of Survivor, because the way Ben played is what we should be wanting. The aggressive gameplay is what people generally like. And he wasn't really that much of a jerk. He was emotional. I think that's where Ben gets caught up. Ben gets emotional, but I don't think he was really a massive jerk to people, from what I recall. I'm sorry if he actually was a massive jerk and I'm forgetting.
He wasn't at all.
I just remember him being like, he definitely was emotional. He's not a game bot. Speaking of game bots earlier, he's not a game bot. He's emotional, but it works. It works for his story and it works for how he wins. So I don't know. I know he wants to make friends on Winners of War, and to me, it kind of knocks. Like, I feel like you don't value your own win, Ben, when you say something like that. You know, I think his win was good. I think he had a good win.
Yeah, and I guess he plays 3 idols in a row, but one of them he doesn't need to play because they all vote for Ashley.
Yeah.
But he plays 3 idols in a row. 1 is played incorrectly. 2 are played correctly. Then he gets saved by fire. My thing is, if that's going to be the rules of the season, if that's what they're going to do, keep doing it. Like, if you have to keep finding idols, keep finding idols. Keep doing what you have to do. I mean, Ben was ranked very low in our winner rankings. He ended up coming in at 46.
Yeah. It's not going to be that much better on my rankings. Not for me, but for the fans, I mean.
Where did he come through there?
Take a guess.
45.
46. You should have just stuck with what you guys
said.
He
was. So he's 46.
It's the same. The season itself, though, it ranks a little higher. Where does it rank?
38.
39. You're so close, Bill.
I know. Well, you know what it is? Now that we've done our winner rankings and like I've compiled it, I can kind of like see what area people should be in. So it's making it a little bit easier.
I think it's a shame that this season's ranked 1 spot below 43. I think 43 is so much better than it's credit for.
Oh, 100%. I'm glad you agree with that. 43.
43 is a great season. It's not great, but I guess it's so underrated that I'm like propping up more. It's a good season. But it's being treated like a bad season. It's not. Ben's right above Tommy Sheehan and right below Jenna Maraska.
Wait, above Tommy? So Tommy Sheehan's ranked 47?
Yes. People, I think Tommy gets the Island of the Idols effect. I think it's what that is.
That's funny. We just ranked Tommy. We put him at 32, and people felt that we were too low on him. And I was surprised. I thought people were going to think we were playing favorites. But I love Tommy.
Tommy's just the people don't like season, and I think it reflects in his win in the way he gets ranked. Unfortunately, it's human nature when it comes to ranking people. It's every year too. It's not like that's an anomaly. Like last year he was 44. It's about the same spot, you know. So
your fans need to rewatch that season.
I you know what? That's the thing, Phil. On my channel, I actively encourage people to skip that season.
There you go.
I'm part of the problem. I'm part of the problem. I try not to watch the season. I don't like it. It's just I can't. The whole damn thing is too much. Like everything else I can handle. The Thailand stuff is bad, and I don't want to watch that either. But like I don't know, the dance stuff's like even worse. I think it's because the show. It almost seems like the show is actively ignoring, like the Thailand stuff gets resolved, doesn't get resolved well, but it gets resolved. Like Gandhi is gone, so it's resolved. That doesn't mean it's right, but like the Dan thing just persists, and the show just lets it happen. And I think it's what gets me is like they knew about it and they just sat there and did nothing. It doesn't get resolved. It just sits there, and then he touches one of the people who works in the show,
which like. From what I
understand, about everything else?
From what I understand, he was falling on a boat and reached out and grabbed somebody, and it's like, but you weren't worried about the Kelly stuff? You were only worried about this. Like, I don't know. It was bad.
Yeah, I can't even speak on that. I'm just saying, like, they let it go on for far too long, and then they ghosted social media for a week to ignore everybody. So, yeah, I guess I'm more like in the know. I feel like on, whereas Thailand I would have watched when I was a kid, and I don't remember it. I only want to go back and rewatch it. So, anyways, talking about Ben. Ben plays an emotional game, which I think helps people connect to them. I do think he should have been voted off at 4, and so I get why people knock his win. It's a bit like Chris Underwood, where Chris Underwood did get voted off. Ben Driebergen should have been voted off. And I think had they told everyone at the beginning of the season this year, like they did in Game Changer, when they're like, hey, if there's a tie, the third person's going to break the tie. This season, if they're at Final Four, there is a fire-making challenge. There will be a fire-making challenge. Or there's a different way we're handling Final Four. It's not going to be a straight vote. Like, had they said something like that, I think that would have at least made everyone feel like, okay, like, while it is a Survivor twist, it's not, it can be treated like, okay, we can't let Ben get to 4. We got to get him out. But then Ben still gets to 4. Well, okay, that's on us. Like, we knew it was coming, but they didn't know it was coming. Everyone, including us, were surprised. We shouldn't be surprised by anything. Edge of Extinction would have been a terrible surprise if they had not told us that everyone's living on the edge for 6 episodes or whatever. I know they did it with the Outcast twist. Those sons of guns got away with that one on Pearl Islands. Pearl Islands, they were just playing fast and loose like pirates that season. That's what they were doing.
And it helped that it was Sean and Austin who were punished the most for that because nobody cared about either of them.
Yeah, Outcast definitely was results oriented that worked. But this season, the result changed the game, and everyone just like, I like Ben, but like I also think this is a bit unfair. They didn't give him any heads up about this.
And what's funny about this, as we're now talking about,
even at the challenge where Chrissy wins, they didn't tell her that's what she was going to win.
I know she was going to win an advantage. It was a massive disadvantage.
That would have been a little bit better, and that would have been much better. A little bit better. I did cut you off, Phil, but a little bit better had they just told, hey, this challenge is not for straight immunity. You're also going to be deciding who makes fire. Like, that would have been at least a little heads up. No,
you're also going to be punished for winning. It's like, as we talk about, throughout this, and we haven't done it too much tonight, but like, are these games replicable? Can these people win these seasons? Is this a game that you can mimic? You had said with Jeremy, you feel like if you tell people that's the game you should try to play. I actually feel like this group of 5 might be the group of 5 that is, if you watch any group of 5, and these aren't the best seasons, but if you watch any group of 5, this might be the group of 5 winners you want to watch, because you can win as any of these people in the new era. Jeremy with the shield strategy, Adam with a similar super fan shield strategy, get a couple trinkets. You have Michele in there who's playing the under the radar social game, which Aubrey just won with. You have Sarah who's playing the middle of the road, under the radar. No, I'm not totally doing this, but like, willing to go back and forth a little bit. And then I think with Ben, if everything goes wrong, just find a bunch of things, because that exists still in Survivor, and you can win by just finding things. And so I think that this is actually probably the group of 5 that is the best group to watch, to try to study and say, okay, if my game goes wrong here, what should I do? How should I pivot? And I think if you watch these 5, you'll figure out how you should pivot and how you could still win the game no matter how bad things go early.
I agree with the comment here from, I think it's Lehigh Valley Bear, saying, if you play Survivor, you need to be able to make fire. I agree. Like, it doesn't excuse Survivor not giving them a heads up, but I agree you should be able to make fire. And I think it's why I feel zero sympathy for Rizzo losing on 50 to fire. I feel no sympathy. Dude had weeks to make fire. He had weeks. He knew he's going on Survivor. He's a fan of the show. This is not news. He wasn't recruited. He knows what's coming. He chose not to practice it. And that's on him. Like, had he been like, I practiced all season, I still lost to Jonathan, I'd be like, okay, I can respect trying. But when you don't try it, it's hard for me to respect that. Like, you just didn't try. Okay, well, like 49 was one thing, but after losing a 49, it's like, maybe you should learn this skill. I was hoping to have to avoid this. Well, you don't win immunity. So what was the plan here?
To also be fair, he had like 2 days to, like, he had like 2 weeks in between.
Okay, but Jonathan said he was practicing on the island every day.
Yeah, but Jonathan's also like that makes sense for Jonathan. I don't know. I'm not really defending Rizzo.
I'm just saying Rizzo should have practiced on the island. I'm not saying his 8 days in between was a different. I'm saying he should have practiced on the island. Like, when fire needs to be made, and he's sitting on exile with Ozzy doing nothing. Hey, Ozzy, can you teach me how to make fire? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to actually learn. I'd rather just sit here and you do it for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like the whole. And Colby's like, Rizzo just sits around doing nothing. He's kind of annoying. I mean, he turns around and liking Rizzo, but Rizzo does nothing. That was like a storyline. Like Q's like he does nothing. Point being is that Ben knew how to make fire, and it worked. And I think Devin. I don't remember Devin being too far out of this one, was he?
Devin wasn't too far out of it, but Devin, see, that was the other thing is like Devin didn't know it was coming, but Ben did, right? It was something like that.
No, Devin knew it was coming, but Ben didn't. Yeah.
That's what it was. But Ben was like already making fire, so I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing. Final Four fire making existed since season 10, if I recall. That was the first time they did Final Four fire making as a tiebreaker. But I don't think Ben thought there was a tiebreaker happening.
Yeah,
I don't think there was a tiebreaker happening. Like I wouldn't have thought that if I was Ben. So Ben went in unprepared, which is even more impressive.
Yeah. So like in your grand scheme of things, like Ben's win, I know you said it's like a worse version of Mike Holloway.
Oh, it's a much worse version of Mike Holloway. I feel like Mike Holloway didn't need any production to help him, and I feel like Ben did.
But I want to just, and I know that this isn't what you're saying, but just for the audience who's listening, production didn't help Ben.
No,
but the production choices helped Ben, and that's the difference. Production wasn't rigging this game for Ben because people were saying at the time. And that's
where they planted idols. I don't know if they planned that preseason. I think Flint or whatever they're called goes out there and just decides here's where we're planting the idol. I mean, I'm not saying they don't do an advance and plan preseason, but like that's one factor of the show. I don't know if that's planned or if they just go out there and go based on vibes.
Yeah,
like there's no note attached saying, "Hey, go search here for the idol." Those are planned. Like go wrong where it's like it's up this tree. You need to like push the thing at the key or whatever to get it out of the tree. Like that's a planned idol. Like that was planned to be there. Well, we're just hiding it at the boat or whatever. Like, was this planned or was this done last minute? You know, that's the kind of stuff that makes you go, Whereas Mike didn't need anything like that. Mike didn't need things that seemed he didn't. I don't know. So Ben as a character, I like more than Ben the strategist. I guess if that makes sense. I do like Ben the character. He's emotional, which just makes for more compelling television. So, what was your question? Which is generally about Ben.
Yeah, it was just like, where do you stand on him? That's
like I don't. He's a bottom 20 winner, maybe bottom 15. But I do like as a character, I like him, but I'm not too impressed by his strategic game. I don't know. And also, I don't like that he got cast over Mike on Winners at War.
Yeah.
Give Mike a second chance. What the heck, guys?
I think Mike would have made more sense too. I agree with you. I think Mike would have made more sense, and I think Mike would have had like a better time. I talked to Ben very briefly after his season, and it was rough for him. It really was. Yeah.
He was not emotionally ready for it.
No.
So we talked about the rankings. Ben is actually the furthest off from a perfect game. How many votes is he off from a perfect game by?
Oh, I know he loses 3 at Final Tribal. Yeah, and he gets at least 6 votes at the Rimmer vote. He gets 3 at the other. I mean, he's got to be 15 votes off.
One off. You're always one off, Phil. 14.
Okay.
You should take your initial gut and then go, okay, should I go up or down 1?
I just got a -1. -1. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, -1 to +1. He's 14 votes off. Yeah, you're right. He missed 3 votes at Final Tribal and then got 11 votes against him during the game. Though, had he predicted correctly and all 3 idols were needed, it would have been even more. You know, it would have been even more. But that one vote that Ashley went, he didn't need that to play the idol.
Yeah, because when he plays that idol for Ashley, it's a 5-1 and he doesn't get anything and he's pissed. And then that's when everybody was like, are you kidding me? They're hiding an idol at Final 5 for him to find. That's what people were pissed at.
Worst move for Ben, though, is definitely making everyone want to get him out. Like, I don't think if we've done worst move, best move, but worst move for Ben is his social game during the season was everybody wants Ben out, which is what we talked about with Mike. Same thing. Like Mike's worst move was making everybody go against him.
Yeah.
You don't want everybody to go against you.
Yeah. What was it that set them all off on Ben? I don't even remember.
I think it was the double agent thing.
But they gave him the opportunity. That's his best
know.
move.
But this is the same group of people that kind of like Worlds Apart. They just like sat around and let him keep looking for idols. And they're like, Ben doesn't have anything. Let's make a fake and trick him. Like that was this season. They thought they could outsmart Ben by making a fake, like, haha. And Ben just like turns around. He's like, I already have the idol.
I've already done this.
The fake idol isn't going to work. I already have the real thing. So just his best move, though, is clearly finding idols and playing them. I mean, as simple as that sounds, it really was. Because without that, he doesn't make it to Final Four. He had to do it. Whereas I think eventually when we get to Chris Underwood winning, Devon's did both, and I think that's actually more fun to watch. Devon's winning getting immunities and winning challenges is like a mix of Mike Holloway and Ben's chaotic gameplay. But whereas they both each did one thing, it seemed like. Although Mike actually did find an idol.
Mike has the idol. There was just less idols to find on Worlds Apart.
But Devon's was just so dominant across the board with both aspects that So, anyways, Ben's best gameplay for me is playing idols. Do you agree, or do you think something different?
I still think it's the double agent. I think that's his best. I mean, the Rimmer one where he negates 6 votes is great, but I still think it's the double agent moment because I mean, to do that was when he pretty much was at the point where if he gets to the end, he wins.
Yeah. And hey, I mean, the jury picked him to win. So people are like, he didn't deserve it, but it's not up to him to design this season. I can't knock Ben for the decisions of production. I can't.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't knock Ben. I can't knock Ben that people sat on their hands and let him go find idols either. They could have found the same idols.
No, I mean, I totally agree. Totally agree.
So,
all right. Are we done with 31, 35?
Yeah, so not next week, everybody. In 2 weeks, we're going to talk about from Wendell Holland through Tony Vlachos.
And then we're going to be speed running the final 2 as well. So the new era will be on the 30th and 31st. So we're getting all this done by August because then I'm away for the first week of August.
So. In 2 weeks, we'll do part 8 of this series. And then the very end of August, or very end of July, we're gonna do doubleheader and knock out the entire new era.
Yeah,
in 2 days.
2 days. I can't waste more time than 2 days on the new era.
The new era had interesting conversations.
Yeah, we're doing part 3 of our winner rankings next Tuesday, everybody. I know I had said the other day that it was going to be on Monday. It's going to be on Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. That is, I mean, we're about to hit our most controversial episode. I'm so excited for it. This is the one that's definitely going to have the most controversy of people who are in here, people who should be higher. It's not really about who should be lower. It's more of like, how are some of these people here now? So I'm excited to get into that one. And yeah, that's it. Wes, what do you have coming up over the next 14, 13?
Yeah. Next week, so actually look, Phil, because I knew you were going to ask. Next week on my channel, these are already up on Patreon if you don't want to wait. But next week, I'm releasing Kelly Wentworth's second chance video. That's going to go up on YouTube next week. And also, I did a video about the double quits of Nayanka and Purple Kelly. So secretly, it's a video about Nayanka, but I know that people. So it's in a package that more people will watch. But it's really the chaos of those two and the purple. It's about the purple edit and about Nayanka at the same time, and they're double quit. So,
can I just have like one comment where I'm just like,
go ahead,
bad person, and that's it?
I think that we already talked about Nicaragua. What are we doing? I'm
just saying. I just want. That's a brutal video to make. I don't know if I could do that without getting mad. So,
it was a fun one to make. It helps when I go in the videos. I know, okay, how do I want to tackle this one? How do I want to approach the subject? Like Dan Spilo, I'm never going to approach in any way other than one. But everything else, I can look at multiple viewpoints.
And the Dan Spilo one is a losing battle. There's like no reason to make that video. But
somebody once asked, like, hey, if I win the Survivor Fantasy League, can I pick Dan Spilo? I'm like, sure. If you want to waste your win on that, you can. Like, I'll make it. I'm not anti-making it. It's just, do you want to waste your win on that? That's up to you, I guess.
What do you think I'm going to say?
For what?
No, that's what I'm saying is like, like when they're telling you make the Dan Spilo, it's like, what do you think?
There's no secret.
Yeah. Like
it's not a secret.
What nuance do you think is about to come out?
I got to project Dan Spilo as a hero now. No, I don't.
No, I don't. All right, everybody. Well, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys all on Tuesday. We're also going to be putting out McKenna Surviving the Fandom on Monday, and then Bitter or Better, the Jurors episode, is going to be coming out on Wednesday. And then Wes and I will see you on the 23rd with the next episode of this. So thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you later.
Bye.